WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. Now, the John Kincade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there that is celebrating. John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. You may not be a big romance fan or a big thought of the day. I know a lot of, I used to deal with a person who had a very successful marriage. Great marriage, him and his wife. And he was anti-Valentine's Day. He said it was a Hallmark holiday and has nothing to do with anything. And he goes, I get her some chocolates and just a card. I said, well, then you celebrate the holiday. No, that's not celebrating. That's just doing the bare minimum. So even if you do the bare minimum today, you're at least making the effort as it goes along. It was interesting to read to see everything that broke out yesterday in the Hassan Reddick story. So over the weekend, people were clutching their pearls, losing their minds that Hassan Reddick's gone. He's out of here. Done. Finished. Eagles don't want him. He's finished. Gone. No. Hassan Reddick was told he could explore a trade. Even yesterday, the Best Show Ever's poll question was, well, Hassan Reddick says he never demanded a trade, which means the Eagles want to trade him. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. What they told him to do, they obviously met up, huddled up on numbers. They didn't come to an agreement on the numbers. Hassan obviously wants to be paid like one of the top defensive ends in the game, and I'm talking big money. Eagles don't think they want to pay him, so they're going to nickel and dime him, and they're going to see, hey, go see what's out there. He says he doesn't want to leave. He says he wants to sign an extension here. He wants to be here. So we pretty much figured out that's exactly what happened. Eagles said go shopping. It doesn't mean the Eagles want to trade him. Howie's letting Hassan do the negotiating for him, and then he only has to negotiate once. Howie Roseman only has to say, thumbs up, thumbs down. I'll meet the price you think he can get. I won't meet the price. And if he won't meet the price, he has to hopefully be able to come to some sort of an agreement on what the value is. But I would tell Hassan Reddick one thing. And going to Temple and being a fellow Temple guy, I had some pretty bright professors back in the day. And one of them in a business, I don't know if it was business law or whatever, said, the person who speaks first in a negotiation loses. Hassan Reddick took it public. Hassan Reddick laid his cards on the table. Hassan Reddick spoke out yesterday. By the way, I love him for it, because I want to see him here. But Hassan, you blew the number one rule in a contract negotiation. You spoke first. I'm still confident, Bob, they can get this thing, potentially worked out. It's just a matter of what his market value is going to be around the rest of the NFL.
Yeah, and it also counts what he counts against the cap next year, which is a hell of a lot of money. You know what that number is?
No.
$22 million.
22.
So maybe Howie's thinking twice about it. 30-year-old, soon-to-be 30-year-old, fell off a little bit this year, whether it was his own doing or coaching doings, whatever. This just seems to be a normal business thing. They couldn't get something worked out. Somebody leaks it out. Reddick answers it, and then you move on. So that's where it is. I don't know where I stand. If he'll be back or not, I would like him to be back. I don't know what you're going
number,
to get.
Though, right? I mean,
yeah, sure.
You don't just want them to break the bank to get him back here.
No, not if it costs you going other places. No, I mean Howie did a wonderful job. I think he was like $3 million against the cap here his first year and $6 million against the cap here his second year. Now it's going up to $22 million. That's a good bit of money. So smart business move by Howie to see what he can do to get that down or change that up.
I don't understand, Pat, how fans can't draw the line between what the cap means and whether a team wants a player or not. Like it's The Eagles, I'm sure, would love to have him back. It's clear. Hassan Reddick laid his cards on the table. I want to be back. But you can't make it. It can't be a ridiculous contract or a cap hit that's going to hurt them from filling all the other holes. Hassan's is a fantastic player. What's it, 20? I can't remember, 27 sacks?
That's a lot.
27 sacks in 2 years. But the thing is, you can't have it be where, yeah, we're going to pay him above market value or top of the market value, and then have it be you can't fill other holes.
But you're right. But isn't this what Howie Roseman's specialty is? Like, I can't have it both ways either. I can't sit there and go, I never worry about the cap with Howie.
Right.
And then sit there and go, yeah, but the cap. Like, this is a situation where Howie needs to show his worth and keep this guy here, because I laid out the other day, like, they don't have any edge rushers. I mean, they drafted Nolan Smith and barely put him on the field. Brandon Graham is a free agent, although no one expects him to go anywhere. But if he wants to come back and he wants to play another year, what are you really getting from like a 6-year-old Brandon Graham? Josh Sweat went AWOL for 2 months. Now, I don't think that's necessarily Josh Sweat, but the one guy that was consistently able to get to the quarterback was Hassan Reddick. So, I'm with you. Like, they need to rework that contract. Nobody wants a $20 million cap hit, but if there's one guy to do it, it is Howie. And I want to see it get done, because I don't like the alternatives.
You make a great point there that if anybody should, if anybody should have our faith, it's him. As far as to be able to negotiate a money deal.
Yeah, I mean it's the team of Howie and Jeffrey. Jeffrey cutting the check for guaranteed money, and that lets Howie have the cap hits what they are. I think, ideally, yeah, they're not going to go in next season and Hassan Reddick's on a $22 million cap hit, but at this point, after being able to step back, it's like, all right, let's let Howie cook a little bit and see what they can get accomplished.
My thought now, so I had a thought on Monday as far as what I read into the situation, and I think it's played out pretty good. But then Hassan Reddick runs to Jordan Schultz, or Jordan Schultz ran to Hassan Reddick and he decided to speak. And he said, look, I want to get an extension done here at home. At no point did I ever tell the organization I want to be traded. At no point, Hassan, did the organization say that you asked to be traded. Or he's reacting to people on social media, or he's reacting to speculation on talk radio. I'm surprised, Bob, that his agent didn't say to him, just let me handle this. Chill. Don't be going to social media with it. Don't be doing interviews about it. My guess is Hassan got word that maybe the money that he thought might be out there isn't necessarily going to be out there. And he wants to make sure that there are no burned bridges with the fans of Philly or this organization. I want to stay here because I don't believe the money. If he is looking for top DN money, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't believe he gets it. I don't believe his market is out there at that kind of money. I don't think he is TJ Watt. I don't think he is getting that kind of money.
Yeah, the numbers say so. Like if you're just looking at sacks and all that, but we all know. I mean, is he a run stuffer as well as a sack artist? No. I don't know what the deal was with dropping him back in coverage last year. This is all just the wonkiness of the business, and we've all seen it 1,000 times and seen it all play out to the point of guys holding out and all of those things. I mean, it was all right, we'll allow you to look elsewhere. That gets out. The Eagles probably, decided to tell somebody that's what we're going to do. He comes back with a rebuttal of, I don't want to leave. So, the onus isn't on me. I want to stay here. Hopefully we can work something out. And that's where we are. The little piss and staring contest.
Nowhere in any kind of negotiation, though, there are organizations that for years have told players, go search the market. Again, we saw it with the Phillies this year. Aaron Nola, go search the market. Yeah. See what's out there. This happens all the time. Sure. It doesn't mean the Phillies wanted to get rid of Aaron Nola. He's Hassan Reddick's playing it like, I didn't ask to be traded. No, this is a negotiation. It shows me that his agent should have said to him, come on, dude, don't talk to the media about this. Just chill out.
Aaron Nola came out and said he wanted to stay here too. That happens all the time. I don't look at this as a huge story at all. Like, it's just this is the normal negotiation tactics that go on once the media gets involved. They're played on each side a little bit, I don't want to leave. Well, we're allowing him to go search for other deals. Like it's just
Because
it's
everybody,
just all part of it, and I don't. Yeah, I didn't. It didn't really move me one way or the other, except for people when they, if people started thinking, oh, they want to trade him. I didn't think that was the case. I thought it was just a negotiating ploy.
I was surprised when I was surprised yesterday with the best show ever's show question, which was that the Eagles obviously which means that the Eagles want to trade him. No, that's not what they want. They're playing chicken. This is a game of chicken right now, Pat. They're staring each other down. And they're
absolutely.
saying it's obvious that the Eagles have told him a number that they think that they want him back at.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a game of chicken, and we saw it last year play out with Darius Slay.
Right.
It was the same thing. So
and Slay came running back.
And,
yeah,
and
I
if
didn't
they
want to
get
see.
a great, go ahead, Pat,
No,
I'm
I
sorry.
didn't want to see Slay leave, and I was pretty panicked when the news came out that they were releasing him, and then 8 hours later they reworked a contract. So that I don't like the fact that it's gotten to this point. I don't like the fact that this is public. I would just prefer an extension. It would make my life as an Eagles fan a lot easier. But I saw it play out a year ago, and the guy came back. I'm hoping the same thing happens with Hassan Reddick.
And if the Eagles get blown away with an offer, which is probably not going to happen, but if they get a really good offer, I'm not going to say they don't want to trade him. I would think with all this going on, that they're open to listening. They're not just asking him to go look for a trade. I'm sure if somebody called them, they'd listen also. You're not going to not listen.
No, you have to listen. I would imagine that they would listen at any player that wouldn't give them a horrendous dead cap hit. They'd listen completely and try to find some way to get to a deal. I do wonder what compensation would be. I heard some speculation, people talking about the subject here yesterday on 97.5 The Fanatic. Well, you'd probably get a second-round pick back. I'm not sure about that. Pat, I don't know where you lay on that one.
I think it's a third day. I'd be shocked if they got a third-round pick back for him, honestly.
I think it's a third-day pick. I think they'd get maybe a fourth and a sixth. I don't think they're getting a second-round pick for him. So, I mean, this is also to the Eagles. Everybody knows now that the Eagles and Hassan Reddick are in a little bit of a stare down. So they're not going to offer unless they know that there's a bidding war that they got to go up against some other team. They're not. I don't believe second-round picks are going to be offered for Hassan Reddick either, especially when you got to pay him. That kind of, when you got to pay him the kind of money that you're going to have to pay him.
Yeah, I mean, Howie has to explore options. That's a big hit. That's a big cap hit, especially when you did such a great job. You bring him in on a $345 deal, Pat? 3 years, $45 million.
$345.
Yeah,
and the first 2 years only count $3 and $6 million against your cap hit. That's awesome. Well, now all of a sudden, $22 million staring you in the eye. Something has to be done. Like that. That's not good enough. So this is the start of it.
Adam Schefter's going to join us today at 8 o'clock. We'll talk to him a little bit about the situation and how, I guess, free agency and things like that are going to look to percolate here as we head towards the beginning of March and the free agency period. Pat's takes coming your way a little bit later on in the show. And we have lots of little interesting discussion points today as we now move into the off season of the Philadelphia Eagles, which is pretty interesting in and of itself. It's been a little bit wild right off the bat. So the Sixers found themselves a new player, and tonight they face a team that's coming for them. John Kincade Show on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
those that want to trade. I'm Pat Egan.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hope your Valentine is going to be treated very well today on this Valentine's Day. If you want them to have a hot shower this morning, which might be a great idea, Bradford White Water Heaters is where you want to go. Bradford White is here for the pro. They'll take great care of you. My friends at Bradford White, go check out BradfordWhite.com. A plumbing professional in your area will find you the perfect Bradford White Water Heater for you. So I said, Bob's going to go down to go see Sixers Heat tonight. That's a little he is not bringing his sweetheart, though. He'll see his sweetheart before. He's not bringing his sweetheart down to a basketball game.
No.
Not tonight.
No. We said we might go out and do something on Friday or something like that.
There you
But
go.
yeah, there's no.
Pat, are you're not lugging your sweetheart to a men's league game or anything tonight, right?
No, I might buy pizza. I don't know.
I saw the couple dozen roses you already have ordered. That was a great idea on your part.
Went from closing down movie theaters in my youth to closing down CVS last night. Walked in at 9:57.
No, you didn't.
Right, I did. I was up running late. I ran in at 9:57, and
were they pissed at you? Walking in the door at 9:57?
I don't know. I mean, it was. I didn't really put much. This is gonna shock you when you're rolling at 9:57 the day before Valentine's Day. You're not putting much thought into the card.
Right, exactly.
You're not exactly like reading the cards. Just this one has a dog on it. That looks good. So grabbed that. Grabbed a couple other things.
Good.
Was out in like 5 minutes, but yeah. I waited till the last minute.
I had a lady yesterday standing in front of me in front of the cards. She must have fully read 7 or 8 cards.
What was my wife doing there, I wonder?
I was standing back because there was a good row of people, so I was just taking my time waiting for an opening. But I'm watching this lady, and she's humming to herself, and every single card, read the whole card. And then I finally, when I'm able to duck in and I see like a funny wife card and a funny daughter card, boom, boom, grab them and go. And I could tell she was giving me the, oh, yeah, you really care, don't you? Move on, lady.
I know somebody who once did what Pat did. Went in and grabbed the card for Valentine's Day and grabbed it fast. And I used to work with this person. And they just grabbed the card fast and then just signed it, and I love you, and signed it, and then got the roses or whatever. When the wife read the card was, though there have been a lot of bumps in the road recently, know that I don't want to do marriage with anybody but you, even though these tough times have shown me that we can get through anything. And the wife reads the card and goes, what are you talking about? Like, what are the rough times? Like, she thinks that he actually put thought into the card. He had not read the card.
Oh, I've intentionally before bought like happy birthday grandmom cards before.
No, you haven't.
Yeah.
Have you really?
Yeah, and I'm like, sorry, that's all I had. Yeah. Absolutely. But like, I've done it intentionally.
As a little.
Yeah, I haven't done it as like.
Did she laugh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever bought your wife a serious card? Whether it be birthday, Valentine's, Christmas, whatever holiday you're
Oh,
celebrating.
really?
No?
I'm not once.
No,
have I ever
I mean,
bought
it's
Wow.
like,
to my wonderful wife.
yeah,
You've
'cause
never
you're
done
just,
that,
like,
really?
You're just,
No.
you read what
That
they
ain't
wrote.
me.
You don't like really read. I don't know. It's
I like
cards are a waste of money.
I like a card with minimal words in it so I can write something that you don't have to, have someone else's words, like 3 paragraphs in there of script that's in print. Something more very simple that you can write something that you want to write. That'd make simple. Bobby says no.
I've done enough writing in my life.
And you're a writer.
Love
Look at
Bob
that.
is good enough.
Well, the 76ers found themselves a new player. And Bob says there's 2 ways to look at the signing of Kyle Lowry. Now, I think I know one of the ways you're going to say that I can look at it. I want to know what the other way is. Because I sort of feel like, I don't know. And again, just judging by Sixers Twitter, and I mean, tons of responses, people seem pretty excited about Kyle Lowry being here.
Really? I
like-
haven't heard that at all. It's weird. I just look at, I had a phone call yesterday from one of my boys, and I didn't even say hello. I pick up the phone, and it's, what the hell are they doing with Kyle Lowry? I don't know. I had 2 ways to look at it. One, okay, is there something lacking in that locker room? Is there kind of I'm not a big fan of it, but a leadership thing, something that Nick Nurse knows that Kyle Lowry has, and Daryl Morey's seen it up close in Houston also. Is there something there? Is there an it factor? Because I got to say, I don't think there's a basketball thing there. I just don't. I mean, is he better than a Patrick Beverley? Call it equivalent, but you upgraded with Cameron Payne. So what is he? Your backup to the backup point guard? Are you throwing him out there as a shooting guard on the second team? Well, that's Tyrese Maxey's spot because he stays in there with the second unit an awful lot. Like, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know. We get word last night that it's official, but also that he's in the ramp-up period, so he won't even be making an appearance until after the All-Star game. He's not even going to be dressed until, I think, the 25th is when they come back, something like that, 22nd. Where does he fit on this basketball team? And I'm not being mean about this. It's an absolute honest question. And like we couldn't talk specifically about him with Daryl Morey the other day.
Yes.
But I'm going to ask the question tonight when I'm down there. Like, where do you see fitting? And please don't tell me about playing time minutes and stuff because I don't think it's there for him, especially when you're going to pare down your rotation to 8 or 9, maybe at most 9, but probably 8 guys come playoff time.
I'm trying. Like, I honestly, I do not understand this move. I can't. I'm trying to figure it out what the move is and what it's about, but I don't want him. I don't necessarily think I don't think he's better than Cameron Payne. So I don't understand, Pat. Other than nostalgia, and you're a Doherty guy, and there's a lot of people that are very
that's right, CDHS
nostalgic about this. I have no idea, like what was the desire with Kyle Lowry?
It's got to be the Nick Nurse effect. It's got to be that Nick Nurse really likes Kyle Lowry, really likes what he brings to the table in terms of veteran leadership, and it's just more depth. That's the only thing I think of. I mean, they're playing like, Ricky Council the fourth, and Turk. Like I don't think ideally you want to be playing those guys if you can have a Kyle Lowry come in. So that's the only logical thing I can think of because you're right. They trade Pat Bev and they get Cameron Payne, so that kind of washes each other out right there. Yeah, the only thing I can think of is like Kyle Lowry's going to add a veteran presence in the locker room that maybe is what Patrick Bev left.
And then I started thinking, is it a Tyrese Maxey thing? Like, look how well Tyrese Maxey learned under James Harden. I mean, he can imitate him perfectly with the step back, with the sidestep. He learned a lot from him. That's obvious in his play. Then you bring in a Patrick Beverley. Is that somebody that also took Tyrese Maxey under his wing and kind of, showing him way because he still is a young kid who's blossoming into stardom very quickly. Is it a fact, and this is nothing against Maxey, but is it a fact that maybe Nick Nurse looks at him and says, yeah, you know what? I really like him having that veteran near him. I've heard great things about him in Harden where he, listened to him and all. Maybe I need another voice in here for him. I don't mind having a great voice in the locker room and if you want to call it leadership, whatever. But this, to me, says they needed it.
I mean, last few years, Payne, 22 minutes a game, 21 minutes a game, 16 minutes a game, 15 minutes a game. You're not I mean, is you bring in the guy, I would expect you're not. What do you don't want to knock him down to a 8-minute a game guy? I mean,
no.
So I just don't understand it. And I know that Nick Nurse and Daryl Morey know a hell of a lot more about their locker room and what fits and what's needed. But I'm still baffled by the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm anxious to talk to people down there tonight just to find out. And look, I could get an answer that I truly agree with and say, oh, okay, all right, I got you now, and then I'll talk about it here tomorrow. Right now, I'm not putting it down. I just don't have I don't know why. Like, it's just like I said, it's kind of, I think, an obvious question of, do you need another guard? Do you need another point guard in here? Are you bringing him in as a shooting guard? Because once you're healthy, all those spots are taken. And now, especially with the moves that you've made, you're going to move a DeAnthony Melton and a Kelly Oubre to the bench. You have your backup point in Cameron Payne. There's 3 guys right there, let alone your backup center. I
You're like
just
9
don't.
guys already. Like he would be the 10th guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Like
He's like
I
your
don't
10th
know.
guy, 11th guy, maybe.
Yeah. Now, look, I might get an answer tonight that somebody says, yeah, it's a specialty thing. He does this specifically well, and we're lacking in that and this and that. And it could be a deep dive into stuff that I don't know about right now. But I'm looking forward to finding out an answer.
Yeah, exactly. Because there is a reason. They didn't just say, oh, well, we're just going to give him an opportunity to come home and play in Philly.
Maybe that is.
Oh, that's terrible. If that's the case, that's stupid.
Well, I mean,
That's
it's
stupid.
$2.5 million.
Yeah, and as you said, like for the 13th guy on the roster,
Yeah,
does it
but it would
matter?
be- so you're
You
just
take Kenny Lofton, the junior spot.
no, I got you, but
Goodbye,
it's just
Kalo.
like why would the Sixers feel the need to do that?
That's
To bring him home.
Kalo on Kalo crime right there.
To
Kenny
bring-
Lofton goes out, Kyle Lowry comes in. Welcome home.
Welcome home. Welcome home. But the team that is trying to push the Sixers or really pull them down into the play-in tournament is the Miami Heat. They're the 7 seed, and they are under that line of where you don't get the extra 4 days off, 5 days off. So right now the Sixers have a 3.5 game lead on the Miami Heat. 3.5 this morning going into it. Tonight's game does mean something. It's one of those things where you could win tonight. You're up 4.5 on the play-in tournament. Then you're feeling a little better that you're going to be able to weather this storm while you're waiting for Joel Embiid to hopefully get his health back. Because Bob, again, I don't mean to harp on it, but I think if they fall below that line into the play-in tournament, then I'm not counting on a long run. I'm not counting on, Embiid comes back. They're going to. I just don't like the way that thing sets up for them.
No, and, speculation totally here on my part. Maybe there's a thing where they say, God, 9th, and we have to play in the play-in tournament? Nah, let's
Don't
just,
bring 'em
let's
back,
just
right?
hold them until next year. I don't know. They're kind of catching the Heat in a good spot. They played in Milwaukee last night.
They were great
They
last
got a
night,
really
right?
good win there. Sometimes you say, you'd rather get the team on the back end of a back-to-back after a big win because they're just not ready to play the next night. Jimmy Butler's been out because of a death. I don't want to say his family. Someone close to him, I think, is how I saw it termed.
Close family friend, I think it said. Something
Oh, it
along
did?
the line.
Okay.
Close family friend, not family.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's going to be back tonight. I haven't read into that yet. Sixers, you had a good game the other night. Really good effort. A day off yesterday, although they did practice. But, tonight you're looking for a premium effort against Miami in a game, you definitely want to take.
Because if you end up in the 5-6 range, then to me that's not. You could play the Bucks in the first round. Like right now, the Sixers would play the Bucks. Doc Rivers has a team that is not responding well to his arrival. They have. I got to think that whatever turmoil they were having in that locker room, Bob, when they decided to fire a coach 40 games into his tenure, whatever, it doesn't seem like Doc Rivers has yet been able to instill any kind of stability to get that team back in track.
No, and it's an oddity. I mean, we heard J.J. Redick say it on national TV a couple years ago. James Harden not coming out and saying it, but kind of hinting at that it's hard for guards to play for Doc Rivers. He's a very guard-heavy, oriented offensive guy who wants things run a specific way. And I don't want to say it turns people off, but from what we heard from those two guys specifically and maybe some others, it might not be sitting well up there in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's another blowout last night at home. Fans booing and walking out of the building and everything. And they were 3 games back of the Celtics for the top seed. Fired a coach, 7.5 now. I mean, now they're plummeting. They're plummeting back. In fact, the Sixers are 2 games behind the Bucks.
Yeah,
I mean,
2 games behind the Bucks, half a game behind the Knicks for 4th in the conference.
Right, and this is that gauntlet of these 6 games. This is the second game of it. Now, the next 4 are at home. So you get to have those 4 at home. They're very critical opponents when you're talking about playing Cleveland and playing the Knicks and playing Milwaukee at home. So there are some very, very critical games coming up. But tonight's a big one because if you can win the night, you start squeezing at some point math on the Miami Heat and I don't believe the Orlando Magic is a team ready to make a charge.
No,
a real charge up the board. They're doing well, 29 and 25, but I don't think they're ready to make a charge up the board.
No, they're about what you kind of thought, maybe a little bit better right now than you thought. They had a hot start, like I said earlier. I like the Wagner kids. I love Boncaro. I said that before the draft. I thought he was going to be the best player out of that draft and a really good pro for a long time. Yeah, they'll stay by the wayside. The thing is, you want to go into the All-Star break with a win also. You don't want to have a bad feeling going in. You're going to get – hopefully you can come back after this All-Star break with those tough games, and maybe you have back a Nick Batum and a DeAnthony Melton.
You're feeling
and
better,
those
yeah.
guys. Yeah. And now you can start to say, okay, this is the real team without Joel Embiid. This is how we're moving forward if you're Nick Nurse. So, I do think tonight's an important game to get a W.
Can you do one thing for me tonight and find out the idea of – I wondered whether they were keeping these guys out, specifically saying we're going to let them have the All-Star break. We could put them back in. I was wondering, let's just make sure they get the whole All-Star break and they're fine and everything's set. I'm wondering if they just held these guys up, seeing that the All-Star break's coming.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point, when there's 3 games to go before the All-Star break, do you chance something? With D'Anthony Melton's back, do you chance it? Nick Batum at 35, do you really have to put 3 more games on before an All-Star game on that body? I'm sure that played a huge part into it. Yeah, giving them that extra time, and then throughout the All-Star game another week. Your next game isn't until the 22nd, a week from tomorrow. So... yeah, I anticipate that when they come back. Now, if they come back and D'Anthony Melton's still not back, well, you really have to worry about that injury to his back.
Well, backs are tough, eh?
Yeah.
You know yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
You know yourself. And, and all the impact, all the
oh, God, yeah.
up and down. Did
you see the picture? Pat, you might have saw this on social media, only because I brought this up last week about how I was in the locker room one time with Thaddeus Young, and I told you that his feet are just so gnarled. And he's like, yeah, it's from basketball. Did you see the picture of LeBron James, on the beach or something?
No.
And he had his shoes off. His feet, I mean, it's unbelievable. It's to look at it, it's like, ugh. But that's what these guys go through. And that's something you can see. We can't see knee pain and back pain and all that. We can't see any of that. But when you look how gnarled so many of these guys' feet are from just running so much throughout the years, that's like a real hit in the face, If you're in a locker room, take a look at players' feet if you can.
I'm not into that, though.
I know. It's weird. I hear you.
I
didn't mean to sound
I
like
remember
that.
reading that Larry Fitzgerald would lose his big toe every year.
Oh, jeez.
Like the nail in his big toe every year.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
rough.
I know Shaquille would give the $100 tip to the girl who did his feet. Every single time she got a $100 tip. And if you've seen his feet look like something out of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an ugly look. I wanted to ask Pat this question, and I had it last night, and there was a little bit of debate going on in a group text I'm involved with. Shaquille got his number retired last night by the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, I saw that.
Third franchise. What do you think about having your number retired by 3 franchises?
That's
In that, as far as
yeah, it's certainly rare. I can't think of another athlete that's had it.
Orlando, L.A., and who else?
Miami.
Oh, Miami.
He's retired in 3 franchises.
Yeah, Miami,
now.
I don't really get.
I don't really get. And
Miami
honestly,
was there for like 3 years.
Okay, I understand for Orlando, he put the franchise on the map. Him and Penny
Yep.
put that franchise on the map. I can sort of
Jameer Nelson.
I can sort of get that one.
Oh no, I can absolutely get Orlando.
Oh, Orlando.
I
without
get
a doubt.
Orlando more than Miami.
I get Orlando more than LA or Miami. The
You
only
get
one
it. You get it more than LA.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
wait a
because
minute.
it was Kobe's team.
Yeah, but 3-time Finals MVP.
Yeah, no, I'm
You
not
can't
saying
do
I'm not
that,
saying
yeah.
that he shouldn't. The only one that I don't get is Miami. Miami to me, that is a my guess would be it was at a time where the team wasn't very good and they needed to sell tickets.
Okay, because
Miami's
teams will
a bandwagon
do that.
city.
Teams will do that.
Oh, absolutely.
That big night. It just is having
He
3.
was in Miami for a total of
4 seasons? Was it 4?
4+ seasons.
Yeah, 4+.
Yeah. L.A. I get. Orlando I absolutely get. Yeah, Miami 1, 2, 3 total 4.
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
I don't.
It just is. It's strange to me the idea of retiring in 3 franchises.
God bless him. Good for him.
Oh no, it's great. I'm proud of him. I think it's fantastic.
It's better than some high school kids that have their number retired at 4 different high schools.
Yeah, that's
for
what
the transferring all around, trying to find the right fit. But no, I don't mind it. I'll question the Miami one, but no, I don't mind it because he is that presence. He is that guy that takes organizations to greater places.
Pat, would you like the lifetime passes to Disney?
Yeah,
The gift of the lifetime passes to Disney.
that would be nice.
But the thing is, though, here's the thing I know. He's not paying to go into Disney. If he calls somebody and they whisk him in, he comes in. There is a back entrance near in Hollywood Studios. There's a back entrance that can take like employees in. I know where he parks and walks in through a back entrance.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he doesn't have to get a ticket first.
No, he doesn't have a ticket. I'm serious.
He might. I mean, you might have to. What if he wants to get a friend in there?
Well, I think he could just.
I mean, John Kincade walks to the front. You're not walking through the back entrance. Shaq's like, hey, I'll drive you around to the front. I'll drop you. I'll meet you in there at Toy Story Midway Mania. Like. I'm not going to poo-poo some free tickets to Disney.
So he earned almost $300 million in his NBA career. Why the hell can't he buy a ticket to Disney?
No, he just walks right in because
he shouldn't. He should pay for a ticket. I'm not kidding.
No, but
that's always kind of bothering. You go out, to get a beer with a player after a game or something like that. Oh, yeah, that's on me. Oh, really? Okay, I don't make $5-10 million a year, and you're giving him free beers, but here I am shelling out $5 a beer, the average Joe. No, they have enough money to pay for it. Pay the damn ticket.
I know someone else, Pat, who has strolled into Disney. Now, I do not know for a fact, but I believe it. The boss, the new boss, also knows this back entrance into Hollywood Studios because that's right where, the radio studios are. And he knows that entrance, too. I bet you he has strolled in there too. Maybe he's strolled in. Maybe we get a back entrance on, figure out how to hit the code and be able to get in. All right, so much coming up on the show today, and a lot of some interesting topic points we're going to get into in discussions. But today is the day, with pitchers and catchers reporting across Major League Baseball. Something Ricky Bo believes may not please you. John Kincade Show on the Fanatic.
One Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Appreciate you hanging out with us. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic. Hopefully you're going to be around at 8 o'clock today. Thanks to Philly Sports Trips, we will give away a trip this weekend to go see the Orange and Black play in New Jersey up in the MetLife Open Series outside and playing in the outside in the elements, the Stadium Series game. You can ride to the game in a luxury bus, enjoy the amazing tailgate with top shelf food and drink, and then catch all of the action. And it looks like we may get a little bit of snow on Saturday morning. So a little bit of just wintry.
Squall. Just a
squall
yeah,
going
major.
through.
Yeah.
Is that an Indian word? Squall? Where'd that come from,
When it
Bob?
comes to snow,
you're a wordsmith.
I don't know.
Because you are the wordsmith amongst us. You sort of know words.
Not on this one.
The squall
Yes.
is coming. Well, pitchers and catchers reporting. And are you glad David Buchanan's back, Pat?
Let's go. Buck Buchanan's back from Japan. I can't wait.
Do you have did you have a jersey?
No.
That's my question for you.
Absolutely
You
not.
never know. You've got some obscure ones.
I do, but no.
What's the most obscure Philly jersey?
Probably. I mean, I have a Reading Fightin's Dylan Cousins jersey.
Okay.
But in terms of like actual like Phillies, probably Antonio Bastardo.
You love Bastardo.
Yeah, I did. I got
I
got
too.
that one made.
I did too, though.
So the two that I had to get made because they didn't make them. I had to get them personalized. Were Bastardo and Joe Bland.
Okay.
But like Freddie Galvis, I guess maybe. No,
Okay.
Either
Years
Freddie
to
Galvis
come,
or
Kingery will be there.
Yeah, Kingery.
That's
Ben,
I still
Ben
see-
Revere.
I still see Kingery ones. Every time I see one, and I always
Yeah, you think of me.
I take a picture and show it
I'm
to
honored.
Pat. You want to grab it? Well, Ricky Bo from the Best Show Ever and the Hot Stove Show brings it to us, and he is of the belief, it appears that the Phillies are going with what they got, and right now, and that they're going to save their cash, they're going to save their spending for the trade deadline. They're going to see what's broken first before they go and try to fix it. Considering this is a team that has been to the National League Championship Series 2 years in a row, has been to the World Series one of those years, is anything less than a red October is a failure. I find it a strange strategy because to me, and maybe it's because Dave Dombrowski is cool and calculated and a bright, and I think he's a bright executive. And a lot of baseball people have said, hey, Dave knows what he's doing. I sort of find it, though, a nonchalant approach to the season that I guess I'm baffled a little bit by, we're just going to let this thing play out. He must love this roster. He must love it. And there's a lot of things to like about it. A lot of things, including his lineup.
Yeah, he wasn't nonchalant when he put together this roster, right?
No.
He went out and got Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, Schwarber, Castellanos. You're talking about guys, he went out and got and paid for. At some point, I guess, you have to just sit back and say, all right, I've done my work. Let's go. It's up to you guys now. That's a good lineup that they have. Now, tweaking here and there. Yeah, I wouldn't have minded another. Like I can't have Marsh on the bench and have a Christian Pache out there in left field. That bothers me. Tweaking, you already have a lineup that's set, or starting rotation rather. I'm sorry, that's set. You have many bullpen pieces and some very good ones. When you talk about the Alvarados and Sir Anthony's and all, and you're bringing up a young kid in Orion Kirkering to see what he might be. So maybe at some point you do just have to, sit back and say, all right, they're all here. Let's go. You're right. Dombrowski didn't. I was thinking Middleton brought all these guys in. Dombrowski didn't bring all these guys in, but all these guys are here now. Dombrowski oversaw some of them coming in here, not all the ones that I mentioned.
Pat, are you I mean, the roster, there's a lot to like about this roster.
Yeah, there is. And everything Ricky said is accurate, I think. Look, I do believe that every day that goes by that some of these big-time free agents are still out there. Dombrowski's going to sit there and go, look, we had this plan to go into the season as is, but I mean, Jordan Montgomery kind of fell into our lap. So what are we supposed to do? Not sign him to a one-year deal? Or, Cody Bellinger, is he an upgrade over Brandon Marsh? Yeah, he is. So let's sign him. I mean, there's a point where you go, okay, my plan has to shift because this opportunity is too good to pass up. But, yeah, I think if you would ask me a month ago, the team is the team. The team is going to be what the team is, and they're going to go into the season as is. And barring a couple of invites to spring training, veteran relievers that, get signed with basically a tryout, that the team as constructed is the team that you're going to see because they don't have a ton of holes. Like you go up and down the lineup and including the rotation, they don't have a ton of holes. Their rotation is pretty much set. Their lineup is set. So could you upgrade in a couple of positions? Yeah, but it does make a lot of sense of what Ricky's saying. They save that money, identify if a guy gets injured, a guy just sucks. If Christopher Sanchez becomes Bailey Falter 2.0 and you need a fifth starter, well, there you go. So I do think what Ricky's saying, there's a lot of merit to it.
And Pat, I think you brought this point up last week. Let's not forget that you also have a way better player with your team early on in the year that you didn't have last year, and that's Bryce Harper. Yeah. He wasn't here.
Absolutely.
And don't forget that Trey Turner was unrecognizable in the first half of last season. You never saw any of that. We had Tim Kirkjian sit here and say, this is something you never, ever see from Trey Turner. And he turned it around. If he's a normal Trey Turner, you're talking 292 with 25 home runs and probably 80 RBIs. Like, that's another addition. So if guys play up to snuff and see this out, you're already better than you were last year. Because first half of the season, you just didn't have those two.
And, look, I admire an executive who doesn't panic. So I'm not being critical of it. I'm just questioning it. As far as there's a lot to like about the I mean, I think they're an obvious playoff team. If they aren't, it's an embarrassment. They should be. That team is built and spending and everything to be a postseason team. And I fully expect that they'll deliver on that. But it's just an interesting strategy that we're going to watch play out.
Yeah, the first 25, 30 are really interesting to me because and that's the only place I go to when I say I'm a little surprised they didn't do anything because they have made such an emphasis. Both Dombrowski, when talked to this offseason, and Rob Thompson saying, we can't have the slow starts that we've had the last few years. We just can't have it. And that has to change. Well, you would think if that was going to change, you were going to change some things. But I think they're just confident in this lineup, confident in what I laid out earlier, that you have a Harper now at the beginning. Hopefully you have a normal Trey Turner at the beginning of the season, and that should carry you through to some more wins.
A little before 8 o'clock this morning, Adam Schefter joins us at 8. But before 8 o'clock, we will give you a chance to win those tickets to go with Philly Sports Trips up on that MetLife Stadium trip this Saturday, which is going to be awesome for you and a guest. And we will randomly be able to guess somebody. You're going to have to answer a couple questions, though, for us. That is just a little hint. So be prepared with your flyer knowledge. Be all flyered up. Be with us around 7:50 this morning, right before Adam Schefter, and we'll get to that. I have a Sophie's Choice for you, Pat, and it's not a good one. I want to put it to you and Bob because it tells me a lot about where you think the Eagles are at for 2024, and more importantly, philosophy. If I told you, and this is from watching yesterday on NFL Live, that there's a belief that Derrick Henry will probably get a 2-year heavily loaded deal but it'll be a 3-year deal, and the third year may be a dummy year, that Derrick Henry is going to be out there in the market. If I gave you the option to sign DeAndre Swift today to the same sort of 3-year deal, it's going to be more heavily loaded to the first 2 years. The third year is sort of going to be a dummy year, so if you wanted to get out of it, you sort of can. Derrick Henry or DeAndre Swift, who do you want for next year's Eagles team? Who's the guy?
I'll let you go ahead, Pat, if you want.
No, you go first.
Okay. I don't want Derrick Henry now. Great back when he's featured. Lot of runs over the years. I mean, how many times he touched the ball over the years? My God, God bless him. Plus, this isn't a run-heavy offense. You know, he flourished in a run-heavy offense. Getting the ball 10, 12 times a game for Derrick Henry, is that conducive to the way he likes to play the game? He needs the ball in his hands. And DeAndre Swift, I don't think they used properly this year. They didn't throw him the ball enough. I don't know why. No, with this type of diverse offense, I would go with DeAndre Swift.
His rushing attempts, by the way, Pat.
I just looked them up.
378, 349, 303, 280 in 4 of the last 5 years.
Yeah,
I see how it's going down every year.
I would take DeAndre Swift because he's got almost 1,400 less touches of the football than Derrick Henry.
I'm so glad.
I mean, for the same money, it's like you're getting a 24-year-old compared to a 29, soon to be 30-year-old. Derrick Henry's a special player, and it wouldn't surprise me if Derrick Henry does end up getting traded or signed elsewhere with a team, and he ends up having 2 to 3 more good years. But I think the best point that was made, other than his workload, is what Bob said. Like, he's used to getting 20 touches a game. So what happens when he only gets 10? I don't want a repeat of DeMarco Murray, a guy who was just, driven into the ground by his former team, comes to Philly, and I think he was put in a bad situation in Philly.
Yes, he was.
It just not being in next to the quarterback the entire time and not being able to run downhill was stupid. But you could make the case that he was just shot. I don't think he was, but whatever. 1,600 less touches and younger body. I'll go with DeAndre Swift. Plus, I've seen him. I've seen him do it with this team already. I don't know Derrick Henry coming in here. Not that he can't do it. Obviously, I think he could, but as Bob talked about the workload and whatnot. I've seen DeAndre Swift have a very, 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 very good productive season with this coaching staff.
And it's funny, and I understand when people say, like, it doesn't matter. They're going to bring anybody in, and they can do that and this. Okay, but that's the model of what you want them to do, kind of, DeAndre Swift. He'll run you for over 1,000 yards. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He is that, type of back in this diverse offense that you kind of want. Okay, yeah, you can go out and get another guy and get another guy and get another guy, and guys can plug that in. But why not DeAndre Swift? Like Pat said, he's already been here. He's done that. I like that kid. I like him a lot. And I would, it's one of the – I understand anybody could do it. You can draft somebody. Okay, we already have somebody in here that we know can do it. Why not stick with that?
The organizational philosophy we talked about at length yesterday about the linebacker. And would there be a change? Would there be a philosophical change in how they approach it? Is everybody cool with the just plug anybody in? Just plug somebody in. They've shown over and over again that they can just get somebody and anybody can be plugged in and anybody can be successful because of this offensive line. To me, it's sort of an arrogant approach. It has paid off. It has, they can find spare pieces. But it is a big key. And for Kellen Moore is a guy who, though he is a pass-first offense, pass-happy offense, he does like to have a multiple back sets. He likes to have the power back, the scat back, just to use those kind of terms. He is a guy that wants to have both of those options. So I would imagine maybe we're getting 2 new guys. I don't know. Maybe I don't know that he's going to be obsessed with Kenny Gainwell like Nick Sirianni has been.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in Eckler, you had a back that could both run and catch. He had that, and I think Eckler had some injuries last year and didn't play full. But you have that. If you want to run and pass, well, you have it with one guy. Kenny Gainwell can catch the ball. Also, we've seen that. Okay, that's fine. I'm all right with Gainwell being the second guy to a DeAndre Swift. Maybe that's something you don't even have to really approach. Maybe you can get Swift at a good number, and you just move on there. If you don't go with Swift and you still have Gainwell, well, yeah, you have to get a featured back. I don't know if you have to get 2. Gainwell's okay as a backup to me. I mean,
so you'd be fine bringing back the backfield then for the most part.
Yeah, I would. I really would.
Gainwell Swift is fine with you. I don't know if it's going to be fine with them, but it's. I just wonder if that philosophy, Pat, of not paying running backs is one that they should potentially look at, with Swift being an outlier.
Yeah, I would look at it for sure. He's a hometown kid. I wonder if he'd take a hometown discount to come back. It's a really good situation for him. He had the best year of his career with this team behind this offensive line. It's expected to change because of Jason Kelsey. But if I'm DeAndre Swift, close to family, having grown up here, yeah, I'm probably looking to take less here than I would for, say, Seattle offers me a contract. You know, I mean, you want to make the most money, obviously. But you also got to look at situation, and you got to look at fit. And this is a pretty good fit for him. And especially considering he didn't get the ball in the first game of the season, which is still crazy.
Still the craziest thing.
But yeah, when you factor in if he did get the ball the first game of the season, his numbers would have been even better. So I think there's a chance he comes back.
I still can't believe that. And when a season ends with everyone and, coaches getting fired and a lot of people questioning the coaching, man, yeah, it ended like that. But, God, let's go back to the beginning. How did it begin like that? How did that coaching staff come out of training camp and say, yup, Kenny Gainwell, he's the guy, not DeAndre Swift? Like, I think that gets overlooked an awful lot. Like, that is malpractice. That is you looking at a football player, 2 football players, for 3 months and deciding, yep, he's the guy, not the other one. And it's not even close. To me, that's unbelievable malpractice, and that's worrisome that the offensive side of the coaching staff came out of training camp and said, Kenny Gainwell, that's the guy over DeAndre Swift.
There have been a lot of people too that have been with the bringing in of a new offensive coordinator saying, well, look at Austin Eckler. I mean, Austin Eckler really dropped off this past year. Austin Eckler had his career high in attempts. Average attempts. He tied his career high for average attempts in 2023 compared to 2021. He wasn't getting the ball any less. He was just being less effective in the running game. He's a running back that will now play this year at the age of 29. I don't want a 29-year-old running backs. There is a decline that happens along the way. He averaged 13 attempts of rushing attempts this past year. He averaged 12 attempts the year before. He averaged 13 attempts the year before. So he didn't drop off. Kellen Moore didn't say, I'm not giving him the chance to be successful. He just wasn't successful. He really dropped off. It's a 24-year-old back. I'm telling you. And DeAndre Swift likes being here and wants to be here and is home.
Yeah,
to me, there's just and I don't think you're going to have to, because of the running back market, I don't think you're going to have to break the bank.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think it's going to take a ton of money to keep him here. And like I said before, I kind of like stability. And why not stability there? Especially after the guy performed last year. It wasn't like, well, he didn't do much, let's give it another try. No, he was really good. He was good.
He was.
So I would like to see him back.
So it's so many questions that will have to be answered during the course of the offseason right now for the Eagles, and we will be all over it as we move the march towards Super Bowl 59. Hopefully it's going to end up in New Orleans. We'll be right there.
Well, it will.
Did you know
Super
it
Bowl
will.
59 will be in New Orleans, Sean. I can tell you that right now.
Breaking news.
Yes.
Breaking news. You have that going on. Bob was watching something on television last night, and he wants to take us back in time. Take us back to our youth. We'll get to that coming up. Hopefully you'll hang out with us all morning long. Happy Valentine's Day. John Kincade Show on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Doesn't look like he wants to trade.
If you download that app, we see you. We love it when you're listening longer. We love it when you check out 975thefanatic.com, click on some of the social media, and get involved in some of the stories that are out there, too. And anytime you can spend with the Fanatic, we greatly appreciate you being a part of it. Our 7 a.m. hour is brought to you by the all-new Bet Parks app. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Coming up a little before 8 o'clock, your opportunity to win those tickets to the Stadium Series game between the Orange and Black and New Jersey coming up on Saturday. Visit 975thefanatic.com for another chance to win. But we will be looking forward to having you jump in on that one coming up. And we're gonna make sure that it's someone who really is a Flyers fan wins those tickets, not just somebody who wants to win something on the radio. We're gonna make sure it's a Flyer fan that is getting on, because when you go with Philly Sports Trips, you're going with the best. They do a great, great job. That is going to be fun.
Awesome.
Great.
They are awesome.
All right, Bobby. So what game were you – there was nothing – last night was not a good sports night. It's not a good sports night.
Not great, no.
So you were watching a game that's already been played? Or a way back game?
Yeah,
you say way back.
Way back game.
What's way back mean?
How about Shaquille O'Neal's rookie year, I believe?
You're 94?
Something around there.
93?
It was in the 90s.
90s.
It was Orlando.
Okay.
They were playing the Chicago Bulls.
Okay.
So I don't know why. I'm just an idiot. I watched that. I watched something else that I want to bring up later, which was also old time. So I'm watching this game, and it's the Orlando Magic and the Chicago Bulls. And we can go back and say, oh, the game was so different then, and look at this. But something did stick out to me.
Okay.
Do you know who holds the all-time record for assists in an NBA game?
Scott Skiles?
He is the best, isn't he?
Oh, that's really good, Pat.
Scott Skiles, 30 assists in a game in 1990 for the Orlando Magic. I'm watching that game last night, and I'm thinking, how the hell was Scott Skiles one of the better point guards in the NBA back then? And so
I can't see that translating to today.
Probably not. No. He had skill. Obviously,
yes, he did,
can't do that. And it took me back to a story that I've told you guys before of my dad and I going to a Sixers game, and at the time Scott Brooks was a sub on the Sixers team. 5'8", Scott Brooks comes out there and nobody. And at halftime, I turned to my dad. I was still playing, and I said, "You know what? I bet you I could hang with him." And my dad turned to me. My dad, I told you, man, a few words, who never cursed. Turned to me and said, "Get the F out of here." And then turned to he's like, that's all he said. And, he might have been the biggest fan of watching me play.
So you were Connor before Connor?
No, I really wasn't. I never talked about myself. I really didn't. But I kind of threw it out there I don't know if I was trying to have a bonding moment with my dad or something, and maybe he would say, yeah, maybe for a little bit. But he gave me the get the F out of here. And so my question to you guys is, bringing up Scott Brooks, Scott Skiles, who are some professional athletes that you looked at and you just said, how the hell did those guys have a career in this league? Maybe just looking the way they looked or having the skill that they had.
The minute I hear you ask this question, 13 seasons. I had to look it up. I thought it was 12. It's 13. Spud Webb.
Yeah.
Averaged 25 minutes a game over a 13-year career. 5'6", averaged 10 points in his career. I mean, he is to me, I would watch Spud Webb play in the NBA, and he played like late 80s probably started, or mid 80s started, and I would watch him play against the trees and never understand it. Never understand how he managed to. He's playing 25 minutes a night in the NBA at 5'6".
Yeah, can you imagine?
And averaged 10 points for his career.
Can you imagine how quick that kid must have been?
It's unbelievable, though. 5'6" and just he was tiny.
He was tiny. He got open. He found people. Didn't he win a dunk contest? That was amazing, the stuff that he did. So, yeah, you look at him, 5'6", as small as he was, you have to say to yourself, God, he's got to have some skill just to stay out there on the floor. He must have been quick and fast as hell.
I mean, it was, to me, it was very, very strange to ever see a player like that be able to stick around the NBA.
Surprised you didn't go with Muggsy Bogues then.
That's
Muggsy
another
was
one.
another one.
That's
Yeah.
another one,
He was
Pat.
5'4".
Yeah, 5. Yeah,
It's
A giant to me,
unbelievable.
but to the other guys, he was a little guy.
I think it was with Spud, Pat. I was looking at 25 minutes a game, and just saying like, and you weren't part of our lives yet. You weren't even a glimmer in your dad's eye. But I would want he played amongst the trees, and I never understood how he was able to be in any way effective.
Am I wrong? Did he bring the headband in? To,
Well,
back-
he did. Well, he did wear that.
No, Spud Webb.
Spud Webb did wear.
maybe,
Would we be
yeah.
making
He
that
did
up?
have when he was with the Hawks.
With the
he had
Hawks,
that,
yeah,
he had
the
that red
headband.
headband, the sweatband. Yes.
Pat, you have a guy?
Yeah. And
Because
this
I have
guy,
another one, and it's near and dear to John's heart, too.
This guy is about to actually come back. He's got 992 career points. He's played over 1,200 games in the NHL. It's hot dog Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel.
Phil Kessel jersey the other
Phil Kessel looks like a beer league player.
Yes, he
like
does.
if you just said, show a lineup and go, one of these guys plays beer league, and by the way, is a bad beer league player. He's showing up for the beer and not for the hockey. It would be Phil Kessel. I mean, there's and I called him Hot Dog Phil because the story came out in Toronto when he was there about how he ate 2 hot dogs a day, and it was completely fabricated and made up. And then he celebrated by winning the Stanley Cup and having the Stanley Cup full of hot dogs. But he just does not look the part. And yet he takes, he did this speed skating thing in the NHL All-Star game a couple years ago, and he was flying around there. He just doesn't look like an NHL player. And not only does he not look like an NHL player, he doesn't look like an NHL player that'd be any good.
Is it part of this, Pat? That
He's a Hall of Famer.
Is it part of it that you have to look? We have to
you gotta
look at
the
a guy.
part.
We got to look at a guy and go, "Oh my gosh!" Like it's just.
Well,
it's so ridiculous.
it goes to what Bob talks about. Guys getting off the bus. You look them up and down, and you eye up your competition. If I'm looking at Phil Kessel, I'm not really all that worried about my competition.
Yeah, right?
And then he gets out there and he just does what he does.
I'll give you another one, and this might be the most successful one that you could say, yeah, he just didn't look the part. Greg Maddux.
Oh, my gosh.
And it's weird
Great
because this morning, and our phones are such a weird thing. So last night, I'm thinking of this, and I put it in my phone. This morning, I wake up, and I get on Twitter a little bit, and there is a video of Greg Maddux pitching in single A ball, warming up in single A ball. And it's like, I can't believe that guy went on to have the career that he had.
He was, Greg was his nickname, one of his many nicknames, other than Mad Dog, but he had the nickname of Mudslide.
Yeah.
Because when he took off his shirt, it looked like a mudslide. He was not your typical athlete, and he was a absolute marksman. He was incredible.
Oh, he was
and so incredible to watch. And Pat, you are a lot like Greg Maddux.
In what sense?
You have his exact sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
If I was to
often
say,
been called the Greg Maddux of radio.
if I was to say somebody, you have his sense of humor. His very dull sarcasm, his wit is very cutting and sharp, very quick. Greg Maddux was a really funny guy, but also a very he had a very strange delivery.
Oh, I appreciate
lines.
that. I'll
That's
take
good.
that as a compliment all
When I
day.
say strange and odd, and when I use them for you, those are good words.
It's interesting though you picked Greg Maddux for baseball because thinking about it, baseball might be the one sport where it's really, really tough to find a guy for this because they literally do come in like all shapes and sizes. You do have a Greg Maddux who doesn't really look the part. Then you got Tom Glavine who's getting drafted, in the NHL and Major League Baseball. Tony Gwynn's the best hitter of all time. He was chunky.
Absolutely.
You got power hitters who are jacked up, and then you have Bryce Harper who's like lean. They really do. They come in all kind of shapes, sizes, and that might be the one sport where I go like, I don't know if I could really like pick a guy that I go, man, I'm really surprised that guy's like really, really good.
Well, the one thing too is Glavine though. You say Glavine there, like Glavine was never jacked. Like Glavine was never a gym.
He was just big. He was just big. He was a big
but
dude.
never a gym guy. You know what I mean? Like he was Bob Cooney would be much more like Smoltz. And I got to see and cover those three guys in their primes. And Smoltz was a guy like Bob Cooney and Smoltz would have been best friends because John Smoltz would compete at anything. Hey, can you make? They'd have the balls of tape, and he's like, Can you make a shot into that trash can? I'll bet you $5 I can make it into the trash can. Like in the clubhouse, just goofing around with members of the media. Great dude. Highly competitive. And his favorite sport, Bob? Hoops.
Golf.
No,
Oh, hoops.
Hoops
Really?
was his name. He would play pickup basketball. He would show up at the LA Fitness or whatever and play pickup hoops with people wherever he could find a game. Loves basketball. But golf's become a obsession. But those are some interesting when you look back. Is this era less likely to find athletes like that don't look the part?
Maybe.
Because
Maybe
now
not.
it's almost like central casting. The
Yeah.
the measurables are so important. Like when you talk about the NFL draft, when you talk about it seems like in baseball they want big dudes. Like, you got to have the big guy to be throwing fast. You got to be able to throw 100. The measurables seem to be they don't go off those anymore.
Yeah, it was funny. This past weekend I went down to Baltimore because my brother-in-law was inducted into a Hall of Fame. He was
Congratulations.
great baseball coach. And we were just talking, and he said, yeah, what's really hard now? He had a philosophy of his coaching that I thought was really interesting, but he said it got tougher and tougher through the years because kids were specializing so much and working on their bodies so much at such a young age. And he was like, like us in a lot of ways, that go out and play sports, man. Like, just go play.
Yes.
I was often asked when I was a kid because I was always, sweaty and dirty and all that. Like, oh, what's your favorite sport? Whatever one I'm playing. Whatever I'm playing right then is my favorite sport. I love playing all the sports, and he says it's really scary how specialized kids are becoming. So to your point, John, yeah, we're probably going to see, athletes are going to be geared to being that athlete from the time they're 10, 12 years old. So we're probably not going to see the mudslides a lot anymore or the, the spud webs and stuff like that. Probably not.
There, Leo Mazzoni, a great pitching coach, legendary pitching coach, he would say, when a guy would show up, a young guy would show up, he'd ask them to look at the veterans, and he'd say, you guys look like to the young guys, you guys look like you spent your whole year worrying about how you're going to look at the beach. He says, I want you flexible. I want you to be able to be, I want you flexible. I want you comfortable. I don't want you pulling muscles. I don't want you to be overyoked. And his pitching staffs were incredibly healthy, and they also threw more than any pitching staffs between starts than any pitching staff in baseball, which is just weird. Mike in Delran. Mike, good morning, buddy.
Yo, what's up, guys? How you guys doing?
Good to hear
Mike?
from you, man.
Hey, Dirk Nowitzki looks like he should have been a roadie for a band. I would have never expected that guy's won an NBA championship and an MVP. Like no way.
Yeah, he
But
does. That's a good one for him.
But then when I was on hold, I thought, I'm mad at myself that I'm drawing a blank. The golfer who smokes and stuff. Was that John Daly?
John Daly, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
There's
That's
no
a good
way
one.
That guy looks like he should have an athletic bone in his body, and he probably doesn't. But the guy could hit a golf ball.
How about Tommy Fleetwood?
Yeah, who's that?
The one that every single time he's in a tournament, somebody says he looks like the guy that you bought weed from in high school. With the straggly hair and he's got there's certain people who don't fit the suit.
Yeah, well, if I wasn't a sports person, I would have definitely mistaken Nick Foles for the Napoleon Dynamite before a football player.
Yeah.
Guys, have a good week. Go Birds.
Thanks,
Thanks,
you, Mike.
We forgot maybe the best of all time when it comes to this topic.
What?
I mean,
the sport.
Basketball.
The best of all time.
I was thinking Oliver Miller was one that came to my mind.
Manute Bol?
No.
Because he looked like a
I mean,
praying mantis.
this guy, when I tell you, you're going to be mad. John Stockton.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, this is a guy that was on the Dream Team, and, the documentary came out, and it's probably the funniest part of the Dream Team documentary. Just gets off the bus, starts walking through Spain, stops people that have the Dream Team T-shirt with all the caricatures of the player. Oh, yeah, look, there's that guy, there's that guy. They have no idea they're talking to
No.
Not only are they talking to a guy on the team, they're talking to one of the best point guards to ever live. They have no idea. They just think he's just some random guy who's probably, looking for tenure at some college. And I've
Pat,
listened
that is
to,
a great one.
I've listened to interviews from former players like, man, we're gonna bust his ass. Like, there's no way this dude's good. And then they get out there and they just get smoked by John Stockton. So
Isn't it weird that basketball has so many examples?
Yeah, it does, I guess, right?
And basketball
baseball
is
we
so...
could. We could go fat pitchers.
Right, there's
I
a
mean,
lot of-
David
Bartolo
Wells,
Colon.
Bartolo
Yes.
Colon. Somebody on
Fernando
our YouTube.
Valenzuela back in the day.
Yeah, somebody on our YouTube page put Kirby Puckett.
Yes.
That's
Kirby
not
Puckett's
bad.
really good.
You had a
John
great one,
Kruk.
Tony Gwynn, John Kruk. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, come on. There's a
the
lot of...
the big dudes.
Who's the guy for the play for the Mets last year? Used to be with Milwaukee.
Dan Vogelbach.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he looks ridiculously.
I love him.
He looks ridiculously sloppy.
I'd have him back and forth in my softball league every
looks,
year.
He looks like he's had a few. He looks like he's attempted to beat the cheesesteak challenge in CBP, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with. But
No, what is it?
So there's I want to say it was a guy for the Nationals who has the record for most cheesesteaks eaten when you enter
In a series?
Citizens Bank Park in a series till when you leave. And I think he has the record of 12 in one day.
God. What?
In one day, yeah. He ate like 3 before the game, 3 in like the first inning. He didn't play, obviously, in this game. He was like a bench guy. But yeah, he's got 12. And then the Mets, I want to say the Mets had the team record for like 120.
Okay, that's ridiculous.
But Dan Vogelback looks like a guy that's up for the challenge. Actually, I'm sorry. A coach has the record for the series.
Okay.
I think it was a Brewers a coach from the bullpen he ate like 25 of them.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. So Dan Vogelback looks like he's a guy that every time he comes to CBP is looking to beat it.
How do you even move?
I don't know. I have like half a one and I'm done.
I would laugh at the one thing I'm shocked at is when you see some of the spreads being brought in pregame. I'm always thinking cheesesteaks in the pregame spread.
It's smart though. You weigh that body down.
Yeah, but the postgame spread, I could see it. Pregame, these guys are getting ready to go out and a lot of times they're going ready to go out in like 90-degree heat.
Love that. Yeah, that's smart by Citizens Bank Park, by the Phillies management, really who deserves all the credit is the Bat Boys and whatnot because they're putting out the spread and they're weighing these bodies down and they're getting all that meat and cheese and it's congealing in the stomach and you're talking about 95 degrees and all of a sudden that fly ball gets hit and you're puking up a storm. That's called a home field advantage, John.
Okay, I very good.
All right, I just because I'm a stats nut sometimes.
You are.
We were just talking about John Stockton, right?
Yes.
And we had a conversation last week about Joel Embiid and other players and how often they play games. John Stockton played 19 years in the NBA.
Okay.
Okay. How many times do you think he played 70 or more?
19.
How many times do you think he played all 82?
6. What?
16 times.
That's amazing.
John Stockton played all 82
That's
games
amazing.
in a 19-year career.
Yeah, their bodies are a little bit different.
But that's amazing.
It is. It's incredible.
But
That durability is
But
enough.
today, Pat, is guys used to play a lot of the games. And nowadays, we're supposed to have the greatest athletes of all time, all the great training.
Yeah,
all
that's
the
why
great,
I kind of brought it up. You're
it's
exactly
crazy to me.
right.
We're supposed to have these athletes are the greatest ever.
I think that goes into it. Like, I think that they're looking at it like the science shows they will be better in the long run if they do take some time off. And
wow.
and like you guys are looking at it like this is an indictment that it doesn't work because you do have all this science and you're taking time off. And I think they're looking at the longevity of the player, but 19 seasons is crazy.
All right, so let's take it to a big man because, it's easier for a little man.
Well, and I'm saying this because I think in today's NBA, John Stockton does not play 16 seasons of 82
Oh,
games.
you mean, no, they wouldn't allow it.
Exactly. That's my point. Like, they wouldn't allow it. He'd be rested.
Jerry Sloan wanted him out there.
17 times Karl Malone played 80 or more games.
That's incredible. And he played a physical style.
He's one of the most physical players ever
That's
in the
incredible.
NBA.
Yeah, but he's a piece of crap, so.
There's that.
Well,
that has nothing to do with the topic at all. I just want to get that out
that's
there.
good. I just want to ask this, and I want to ask this question without being disrespectful. Doc Rivers just got his 1100th win the other night. It's 8th best all-time in the NBA. Is Doc Rivers an all-time great coach?
The numbers will say yeah. I mean, I hear you.
But I'm wondering is that, and I really enjoyed getting to know him a little bit. He was a really nice guy, but he's won 1,100 games. He's lost a ton of games too. But does longevity make you a great coach?
Well, you're not staying in the league if you're not a really good coach, right? We can talk longevity, but teams are looking to hire guys that are going to get them to win. And there was many teams that thought Doc Rivers was a guy to get them to win. He won the one championship with Boston, had very good teams with Boston. Look, we have recency bias because of A, him being here, now B, him going to Milwaukee and not succeeding. He seems to me a guy that, maybe ran too long. or wasn't in conjunction with the players as much. Because I told you guys, in the early 2010s, when I was covering the league and seeing Doc Rivers and talking to people who played for Doc Rivers and all, it was a good fit. Like, it was a really good fit. He was right on board with the players. The NBA and media would go to him all the time if there was a national story going on, that involved something that maybe an African-American person needed to talk about. It was Doc Rivers.
Doc Rivers.
He was – and he fit, and he was good, and the players really liked him. And then I think some stuff changed.
I'm sorry to cut you off. I believe he was the coach when the Donald Sterling stuff was happening too. Like, he had to deal with all that mess.
He was the first guy that everybody went to. And then when you had the, stuff going on a few years ago, you remember, like, Doc was one of the first that people would go to talk about it. The George Floyd stuff, all of those things.
Well, he's very thoughtful, and he doesn't tend to – Doc, when he speaks on those issues – doesn't tend to talk at you.
No.
He talks to you and is willing to have a dialogue. He doesn't do it's one of the things that I don't appreciate a lot of times with Kerr and with Coach Pops. I'm going to preach to you. And it's not a discussion. There's one right answer. I mean, Doc's very thoughtful.
Yeah, he is. But I all-time great. The numbers will say yes, and there was a time that I think maybe has passed a little bit now, where he was player relatable, where he was really good. He was in touch with his teams. I saw it up close. Has his time maybe passed? Maybe.
Brendan Gunn is going to wait to answer this phone number, 215-263-0975. He's going to make sure that nobody gets in early before the YouTube audience gets it or before all the people listening on the app get it. 215-263-0975. I need Flyer fans, and you got to be a big Flyer fan to line up. I got some questions. Got a pair of tickets to give away to the Stadium Series, courtesy of Philly Sports Trips. We'll give away those tickets before Adam Schefter joins us coming up. John Kincade Show on 97.5, The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports. powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, Philly Sports Trips is giving away a trip to the MetLife Stadium Series game this weekend. You get a ride to the game in a luxury bus, an amazing tailgate with top shelf food and drink. You catch all the action. Visit 97.5thefanatic.com for another chance to win if you don't win here. We have 3 callers on the line. One of them is going to walk away with the tickets before we get Adam Schefter at the top of the hour. So, Bob Cooney, in my hand, I hold 3 slips of paper just to keep it clean. We have 3 contestants. Pick one. That person gets to go first, and they have a chance to win. Who is the person who gets to go first? What number is it?
Person number 2, Matt from Lehigh.
Okay, so Matt from Lehigh. Matt, it's sitting in your control right now, right? You ready to go?
Yep. Good morning, guys.
All right, Matt. Name 3 Flyer coaches other than John Tortorella.
Let's go with Laviolette, Dave Hackstall, and
2, 1. Sorry, Matt.
Wow.
Matt went by the wayside there.
Man.
Oh, man. I didn't
Hitchcock.
think that was that hard. Right.
John Stevens, come on.
I didn't think it was that hard. By the way, Pat, just a side question here. Other than Fred Shiro, who coached 7 years, only one Flyer coach has had a tenure greater than 4 years.
Only one.
Who?
Oh. I would go with Laviolette.
Yeah, he had 5. Every other coach is less than 5. Isn't that incredible? All right, Bob, pick. Who goes next? Okay, here we go. Who is it?
It is number 1.
Number 1.
That is Joe in the Northeast.
Joe, how are you?
I'm good, John. How you guys doing?
Good, Joe. We're going to try to give you a chance to win here. Joe, give me 3 teams that the Flyers have faced off with in the Stanley Cup Finals.
Okay, let's go Pittsburgh.
No.
That was quick.
No, that one did not go well.
We're crushing this game.
That's a good question. Pat, can you give me 3? Yeah, you can.
Detroit, Chicago, Edmonton.
There you go. And the other 2?
Boston Bruins, Sabres.
Yeah, there you go. Boston, Buffalo. Okay, good. All right, so that leaves Brian and Roxborough here. Brian?
Hey, good morning, guys.
I don't want to have to open up the phones again, Brian. To be able
Hopefully not.
to be able to do this one. We'll see how it works. Can you give me 2 Flyer captains?
We'll go Keith Primo, and we'll go the Big E, Eric Lindros.
I think
Nice.
he's going. There
Good
you
job,
go.
Brian.
Congratulations, Brian.
I mean, the disrespect for Jason Smith is insane, but okay, fine, you win.
Brian from Roxborough, you know what you're doing? You're getting on a bus on Saturday. With Philly Sports
Love it.
Trips, you're going to ride to the game in a luxury bus, you and a friend, or you and a loved one. It is Valentine's Day. Could be a gift. The tailgate's going to be awesome. Top shelf food and drink. You catch all the action of the outdoor game. And if you want another chance to win, folks, like Brian from Roxborough, visit 975thefanatic.com for another chance to win. Good job, Brian.
Appreciate it, guys. Go Flyers.
There you go. Hey, you can book your trips at phillysportstrips.com, where you travel with the pros. I can already tell you, I'm already looking at the road schedule for next year. It's got to be New Orleans.
The road schedule for the Flyers?
No, for the Eagles.
Oh.
For
New
the-
Orleans
it's
doesn't
got-
have a hockey team, Bob.
We were just talking hockey,
we were.
and then all of a
Sport
sudden
it
he
is.
just goes somewhere
No,
else.
I'm talking about a road trip.
Idea.
New Orleans is a great one. It is
Our friend Ray Dunn was just in New Orleans.
so much
I
fun.
think he's in Alabama tonight.
And
Oh, yeah,
Bob,
he is in
and
Mobile.
Bob, you know, going through New Orleans, you could put on 5-10 pounds in a trip.
Yeah, it's a we had an NBA All-Star game there one year, so I was there for a week straight.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, that probably,
that's too long for New Orleans to me.
yeah. You could do New Orleans two ways.
Two
You
nights,
do the-
3 nights, maybe.
Yeah, you do the Bourbon Street stuff, and that's fun. Okay, get all the partying out of the way. And then once you do that, then you have to enjoy like the great cuisine there. And then
GW Finn's.
fun, good restaurants.
GW Finn's is my favorite seafood restaurant in the entire country, right in the French Quarter. Absolutely awesome. And Mrs. B's, that was my other one. That was
There's a place down there called Mildred's, which is great for lunch. I told Ray, and he did it, to go to the Acme Oyster House, which is phenomenal.
Always
to go
great.
and get some oysters. Yeah, there's a lot of great. We went to the when it was pretty newly opened, Emeril Lagasse's place down there. We kind of had a connection, so there was probably about 10 or 12 of us, and they just kept bringing out family style, and oh my gosh, it was delicious.
All right, we're going to get ready to talk to Adam Schefter, and he's going to join us coming up at the top of the hour. Thanks to Landis Block and Concrete, where you can create your very own jaw-dropping backyard paradise. Go check out online at landisbc.com. The Hassan Reddick story, and I made the case earlier that I was always taught that whoever speaks first in a negotiation is going to lose. And I was surprised that Hassan felt the need to go do an interview, post something on Twitter, respond to it on Twitter about this situation, because it's very clear. The Eagles would love to have him back. Hassan would love to be back, but it's just the number they're not going to agree on. And they're going to have to find a way to potentially find some common ground. But to me, the one thing when I'm trying to look at this situation, everyone's saying, well, Howie had to leak it. The fact that Rap Sheet was the one that got the story doesn't sound like Howie to me. And that's not just because Adam Schefter's coming up at the top of the hour. The fact that Ian Rappaport got the skinny on this doesn't sound like a Howie Roseman leak to me. I don't believe that the connection with Ian Rappaport is that tight.
Well,
as far as getting the inside skinny on the Eagles, there's usually two other guys in the industry that get it, who are premier insiders. And on Super Bowl Sunday, I believe Adam Schefter would have been given that tidbit.
Yeah, I don't know. And you had a statement there. You want the Eagles want him back too. I don't know that. I don't know. He's 30 years old, an outside rusher that didn't have a great year last year, that they couldn't figure out how to use him. Were they using him in a weird way in order to, I don't know, maybe frustrate him and pushing him towards not wanting to come back? I don't know if the Eagles want him back. $22 million salary cap hit, that's a lot.
It is. It's huge.
The guy's going to be 30 years old. We do a lot of this on, presumption, presuming that the Eagles want him back. I can't do that. I don't know if it hasn't come up in a Howie meeting saying, yeah, we're probably better off looking for a trade for her son if we can't get him cheap.
It seems.
I don't know.
Well, what doesn't fit, though, is the amount of money. The idea of this, you go shop and then round back, which appears to be the summary of the situation. That doesn't seem like because I doubt they would do that, because then if he comes back with a number, then they feel like a reasonable number, then they feel like they'd have to come out with egg on their face. If he ends up signing a reasonable deal somewhere else, people are going to go to the Eagles. You totally blew it. You had a chance to get him for a reasonable number. That doesn't usually how they execute. But Ian Rappaport is not usually the guy to have the funnel into the Eagles front office. It's usually a guy that we talk.
Yeah, we're going to many angles at this. I just think it's pretty on right there. I don't know if we can afford $22 million cap hit. You can look other places. If there's a number that we can agree on, great. If there's not, all right.
I think that's what it is. It's the idea of, though, who leaked it. I don't believe this was a Howie leak. I don't believe that it was leaked on Super Bowl Sunday by Howie Roseman because of the fact that it was Ian Rappaport. That's my own thought process. The guy that we talk to every week on the Comcast Business Hotline, Adam Schefter, tends to have the sort of like the inside skinny on what goes on around the Eagles. A lot of times, or at least there's the presumption.
Yeah, he's not bad.
That he knows what he's doing. He's a guy who's got it on. Now he's getting over the trip to Las Vegas. He is the NFL's premier insider, Adam Schefter. Adam, it was probably an exhausting week, but an entertaining game in the second half nonetheless.
A great game in the second half, John. And yes, it was an exhausting week. And yes, it was a great game in the second half. And yes, Vegas was a rare place for a Super Bowl. Haven't been there before for one. I would imagine the league would want to go back there. Would have some interest in going back there. The Niners had their chances to put it away and didn't. You can't give a guy like Mahomes any more chances than he already has, and that's what they did. I don't care whether they did or didn't know the overtime rules. Like, you can't fumble a punt and give them 7. You can't fumble your opening possession of the game. You can't miss an extra point. I mean, we go on and on. When you play the Chiefs and Mahomes, you have to play a clean game. And they didn't play a clean game. They played a good game, but not a clean game, and they didn't put them away when they had the chance.
Shefty, as a fan, if you're looking at that game, watching that game, you see the overtime come, you see San Fran win the coin toss. What was your thoughts there when they decided to do what they did?
Well, I got to be honest with you. I think everybody was trying to wrap their minds around the new overtime rules, and from a fan standpoint, we're allowed to do that. From a organizational standpoint, they know what they're going to do, and they had discussed, the Niners had, exactly how they would handle it, and the reason they chose to take the ball was so that with the new overtime rules, if both teams scored a field goal or both teams scored a touchdown, then the Niners would have the ball third.
And we know now that was never going to happen because Andy Reid and them, Patrick Mahomes already let it out of the bag. They were going for 2. If the 49ers had scored a touchdown and put up 7, he already let it be known they were going for 2. So there wouldn't have been a third possession.
Yep, there you go. And so that again, and the Niners had a chance there to score a touchdown and didn't, and let them off the hook there. So again, it's just another situation where they blew the opportunity to put the game away. Not that they would have put it away, the Chiefs would have gotten the ball back, but at least make it such that the Chiefs would have to go for 2, and they didn't get that done either. And once the Chiefs score, it's over. So, yeah, to your point, John, absolutely, it was a moot point. And looking back on it, I think, they talked about that, taking the ball first if you win the overtime coin toss. But I think you've got to really kind of feel the game out and feel the opponent out. And at that point, it really wasn't a high-scoring game. It was as much of a defensive battle as anything else. And it also felt like the Niners' defense was running out of gas. And it also felt like, you just had to get it done there. And so I know they talked about taking the ball, but I wouldn't want to give the ball to Mahomes and give him an extra down when he has the ball second, when you've got to score. So you're going to go for it on 4th down no matter what anyway. So that makes me nervous, just the idea of Mahomes having an extra down anytime.
Everybody here in town is sweating out this Hassan Reddick story and the idea that he can now search for a trade partner. I want to ask you 2 questions. One, where do you believe the leak came from that was reported on Super Bowl Sunday by Ian Rappaport? Do you believe that came from inside the building or inside Hassan's camp? And also, 2, I've always been taught whoever speaks first in a negotiation loses, and Hassan's the one talking. The Eagles aren't doing the talking. How do you think this plays out?
Well, you just answered the question yourself, and I don't prefer to speculate on leaks. I mean, the guy has wanted a new deal for a long time here, so there's no secret there. And if you don't get a deal, and you've wanted one for a long time, that's been going on since last summer, maybe earlier. So it's only a matter of time before something like this comes up when you go that long without a deal. Like I said, I think you probably answered the question yourself there, John. You don't need me to answer it for you.
About speaking first in a negotiation.
Well, you said the Eagles aren't talking, and Hassan and his camp are, right?
Yes.
Like, why would the Eagles say any of that?
That's what I wonder.
They wouldn't. They wouldn't.
Shefty, if like looking at this Super, I'm a big feel guy, how I feel about something, and then you're backed up with facts and all of that. Do you get the feeling with this San Francisco team, Shefty, that they're there to stay for a little while, that this Brock Purdy thing, and I know they have some, cap stuff going on and all that, but do you feel like they're a team that's going to be in the mix for a while in the NFC?
Well, I do. I mean, I just feel like Kyle is, the best play caller out there on the offensive side of the football, and Purdy is perfect to run that system, and McCaffrey will be there, and Debo will be there, and they have some key pieces, and they've drafted pretty well. So I'm going to bank on the fact that they will continue to draft pretty well. And if they're doing those things, then why wouldn't they be back there competitive in a conference that's lacking the type of quarterbacks that the AFC has? Like the AFC has Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. I think I'm forgetting more. But who in the NFC quarterback-wise do you look at and say, well, there's an elite quarterback in the NFC right now? How many are there?
Not a ton.
Maybe Jalen.
Maybe, yeah.
And he didn't play great last year.
No.
Right? So who's the best quarterback in the conference? They don't have one guy that measures up to the top four guys in the AFC.
When you look at what the Eagles' offseason plan's going to be, there's a lot of talk about whether guys like Bradbury, Slay, and some of the other veterans, whether it be Cox and Graham and them come back. Do you expect this to be one of those like HGTV makeovers, or do you think this is going to be more of a tweak? Because this was a team that was in the Super Bowl just a year ago, and now they brought in two really competent coordinators.
Well, I don't think it's going to be a makeover, but I do think that they're going to have to give these coordinators some of the parts that they feel like they need. So, I mean, I think the Eagles are going to upgrade their secondary, or at least attempt to upgrade their secondary in some form or fashion. And they're always looking to see what they could do to get better on defense. Do I think it's going to be a wholesale makeover? No. They're going to lean on a lot of these young guys that they've drafted the last couple of years. That's where it's going to start. But they're definitely going to be looking to supplement, complement, add to it, and grow from that. There's no doubt about that.
Shefty, do you see anything, a big change of any kind in the NFL next year, whether it be, I don't know, rules, scheduling, anything like that might be a little bit prominent for next year?
Well, I would imagine they're going to talk about officiating, and we'll see what comes of that this offseason. There's always a rule change or two, a tweak. They seem to have really wanted to limit the kickoff. It feels like to me like they're trying to do away with that play altogether so that there are no more kickoffs in the National Football League. So let's see if they take that further this offseason and continue to move in that direction. So, kickoffs, officiating, some things that we already know, the international stuff with the Eagles opening their season that Friday night in Brazil. Are you guys going to get to? You guys should go do shows from Brazil there.
Yeah, we're gonna go with you. We'll let ESPN take care of it. But Shefty, hit a little bit more on that officiating. Like, in what way? Do we think it needs to get better? Obviously, everything always has to get better. But like, what kind of maybe changes do you think they might be looking at?
I don't know where it's going to wind up, but I can tell you that in talking to enough teams, that every team, to me, sounds frustrated. Everything that I've spoken to sounds frustrated by the officials. Every team seems to have their own ideas about what they can do to improve the state of officiating in the National Football League. And then the question is, how does the league do that? Like, what? You can't just. I'd be surprised if the league says, "Yeah, it was a okay year for the officials. We're just going to run it back." Like, same thing. Like, no, don't see that happening. So the question becomes, what do they do? Are they bringing on more officials? Are they going to different training techniques? Are they trying to bring some of these guys on full time? Are they opening up officiating academy? I don't know what they're going to do, but I just don't believe they're going to say we're satisfied with where officiating's at, and we're going to hope to continue and improve upon it in 2024. I don't think that's response we're going to get this offseason.
Obviously, the Eagles always look at Dallas being their number one, rival. You got to win the division to really, get that home game and move from there. What's the future of Dak Prescott and the Cowboys? I mean, is there the long-term deal coming, the big money long-term contract coming, or are they headed to a potential down the line breakup?
Well, it's hard to answer that because when Jerry Jones was talking last week at the Super Bowl or 2 weeks ago, it sounded like he was talking out of both sides of his mouth there. And on the one hand, like complimenting Dak, but also it felt like he was taking little jabs at him.
Like putting him on the clock a little bit.
Yeah, like, hey, we're only going to go, as far as Dak takes us. And Dak, we know how far Dak took him this year. And what I would say to that is Dak has the leverage right now. He just does. He's got a deal with a cap figure of over $59 million. They want to re-sign Micah Parsons and CD Lamb, and they need Dak to give them the type of flexibility that the top quarterbacks do. And so you need his cooperation. You need his ability to sign off on that, his willingness to get into a long-term deal. And if they're kind of poking the bear, I think that makes them less inclined to do that, which makes them more challenged in terms of re-signing some of these guys and upgrading the rest of the roster. So they're kind of tied together. Now, eventually, can they, should they, will they work it out? Probably. But I don't think it's a layup that it happens that way. And I still think that it's a process they're both going through. And that's going to be the key to Dallas's offseason to see whether they can get that deal done, in my mind.
All right, Shefty, last thing quickly. Did you, this doesn't have to be anything out there crazy, bad, or anything, but did you do anything in Las Vegas that you never thought you'd do before? Did you go see like Adele or Celine Dion and you thought you'd never see that before? Something like that.
No. I did call up for Adele tickets, and I could only get 2, and I had my whole family with me, so that went out the window. No, there was really nothing like that. Like, I went to a couple of dinners. You know what? I'll give you one. And I talked about it on my podcast this week. My daughter was working for Nickelodeon. And so every year when I go to the Super Bowl, a lot of times after our pregame show, I just leave. Like, I'm happy to go watch the game somewhere with with some of my ESPN colleagues. This year, with my daughter working for Nickelodeon, they had her set up in the booth where Nate Burleson, Noah Eagle, SpongeBob, and Patrick Starr were doing the game.
Nice.
In the end zone that was painted 49ers behind the goalpost. So it was cordoned off. It was curtained off, so you really couldn't see the field, and they have return monitors. So I watched this Super Bowl with SpongeBob and Patrick Starr doing the play-by-play in the Nickelodeon booth.
That was the answer.
There it
he
is.
asked you the question. That was the answer. That's a great answer.
And I never would have imagined that that's how I would have consumed Super Bowl 58, but that's how I did. Like SpongeBob commenting and Patrick Starr commenting and watching the game on the Nickelodeon. Like, I didn't realize that Trey Greenlaw went down with a ruptured Achilles. They don't show that stuff on Nickelodeon. I'm like, when did that happen?
All right, I need one last thing from you. In your music library that you would ever stream music from, do you have more Usher or do you have more Taylor Swift?
More Taylor Swift than Usher.
More Taylor Swift than Usher.
Yeah, more Taylor Swift. But I will also say that I've been involved in this campaign with Usher over the last 6 months. We've done a thing for a company to raise awareness for diabetes testing. His son is type 1. My wife is type 1. And we did an event together. Well, we've done a couple of events together. We did a fundraiser in New York City a couple of years back for JDRF, and then we did this event to raise awareness to have people pre-screen for diabetes in Times Square together in October. It was the day after the trade deadline, maybe November 1, actually. And then I'm doing a thing with him next week on the 21st in New York City, something or other. I don't know, some kind of shoot. Again, all designed about raising awareness for diabetes testing. I'm doing with him next week. So don't tell him that I have more Taylor Swift, but I will say this: I have great respect for who he is, how he handles himself. He was incredible at the event we did in November. The way he talks and thinks, his thoughts. He's a pretty deep guy, and I have great respect for him.
You lead a cool life, Shefty, and we appreciate that you stop by and join us on Wednesdays. Have a good week, all right?
Thanks, Shefty.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
There you go. There's Adam Schefter. He joined us on the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day, and Comcast Business gets you ready for what's next. Go visit LandisBC.com, too, for my friends at Landis Block and Concrete, who bring you Adam every week because they'll help you create your own jaw-dropping outdoor paradise. Sounds really, really good. He's got some he's got some good things to be able to do. SpongeBob, now that was the memorable thing.
There it is.
Hey,
right
the
there.
NFL on Fox had good news for Eagles fans yesterday. What was it? I'll tell you. Coming up, John Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. Bob's got you have such a pensive look on your face. But there were some
only
technical
because-
difficulties.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure that Pat was okay doing his takes, but I don't think our.
Yeah, I'll be all right.
Okay, all right.
Pat is a radio professional.
I've seen some stuff.
He can
I've
MacGyver.
seen some
He has to
stuff.
MacGyver things though with that board that he runs the show.
You know,
with. It's
sometimes
pretty
we
amazing.
have 15 different passwords because you got to keep ISIS out of your equipment. You don't want them showing up.
Hey, they've been threatening.
Yeah,
They've been threatening.
them showing up and pressing the wrong, drops. We don't want that.
You make me laugh. Okay, NFL on Fox had some good news for the Eagles yesterday. Do you know what it was, Bob?
Greg Olson going to the number 2 team or 3 team or 4 team?
Yeah, I'm not excited for Brady being on the 1 team, but
There was
we'll
a
see.
clip of him on Twitter this weekend of him analyzing something, and
That was
it
pretty
was
good.
golden.
I can tell you, I can count on one hand the interesting things I've ever heard come out of his mouth, but he may be a good analyst. We're going to find out next
Well, I've
year.
never talked football with him, and that's basically. And I'm being honest. Like
Well, you've
that's
heard him talk
basically
football, though.
little bit. Not.
You don't watch
much.
the pregame shows they do, like when they do the sit-downs with him and everything, but
Yeah, but how many times you see that? 5, 10 times? I mean, we're going to see him
every
every
Super Bowl.
We're going to
every-
see him 16 times a year, probably more. But yeah, this was golden. And he was also talking about other announcers. He says, yeah, when this play happens, the announcer on the game will say this. But I know that it was actually this. And it was pretty cool. I think he's going to – I didn't have great expectations, but I think he's going to be pretty good.
Fox-
But anyway, what did Fox say,
Okay,
John?
Fox NFL has a podcast where they're, that involves their analysts and things like that, where they were talking about the top teams, the top 10 teams for 2024 already. And obviously Kansas City and San Francisco were 1-2. The Lions and Green Bay were 3-4. 3-4 in the entire NFL. Ravens and Bills came in 5-6. And your Philadelphia Eagles came in at 7, ahead of the Dallas Cowboys. I find it interesting because I believe how the Eagles are perceived nationally and how the Eagles are perceived locally sometimes is far more critical here. And maybe that's in every fan base. Maybe that's in every city. But their experts, their panel of experts believes the Eagles are the team that should be the favorite in the NFC East, not Dallas. I don't know what it's about. I did look because Pat always likes to analyze these numbers and look at it. Dallas has a much different cap situation to maneuver than the Eagles do. Even though we're talking about the Hassan Reddick story and everything, Dallas has got some navigating to do. And it's not going to be easy. So maybe that's it. Maybe it's the fact that nobody repeats as division champions. But I tend to believe it's this, that they do not believe that what you saw at the end of the year was the real Philadelphia Eagles. That it was to blame on a team that had inferior coaching and inferior direction that just went off the rails. That tells me their experts are of the belief, yeah, the Eagles are going to be just fine. They're a really, really good team, and it just so happens that the Eagles just, went off the rails at the end of the year.
Well, yeah, that would seem logical. I mean, I don't think anybody penned them to be the worst team in football this year. They were among them, if not them, for the last 5, 6, 7 weeks of the season. So, yeah, logic would say that they're going to be better than that. I don't think this offense will allow, and new coordinators and all of that will allow for this to be the worst team in football, which I really think they were at the end of the season. So for there, yeah. As far as, well, it's kind of no crap, Dallas or the Eagles. Giants aren't winning this division. Washington
It's
ain't
not
winning
Washington.
this division.
But why would Dallas be behind the Eagles? Like, these guys know. These guys are around these teams, too. This is the Fox analyst.
I'll bet
This
you the
is
Fox analyst
insider.
predicted the Eagles to be in the Super Bowl for the NFC this year, too. I mean, their word isn't golden.
San Fran was their pick, by the way. I did happen to hear them talking about that.
Yeah, I mean,
that it was San Fran.
They probably picked the Eagles to win the division this year. How about that?
Could be. I mean, but
yeah,
it's
I mean, I like what am I taking into it? They were cleaning out their desks, and they said, "Hey, before you go, though, give us some predictions for next year. Give us your top 10." And they threw it down, and that's where it was, and they handed it in.
See,
You don't
think there's any thought put into it? Then they're just. I believe
there's probably some thought put into it, but am I putting trust into it? No, no. Like why? Why am I putting trust into somebody else?
Because
I know what I see.
No, but I also believe that they are meeting with the coaches, meeting with the players, because it's the Fox team. So these guys are in and out, meeting with the coaches, understanding what's going on around that team. They get great access, and they're believing in it. Bob discounts it.
No, I don't discount it. I just think, it's no crap. I mean, we probably think that too. I think the Eagles are probably next year going to be one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the NFC. They're going to battle Dallas for the division title. It's I don't want to say same story, write it all over again, but yeah, I would assume pretty much everyone around the country would think that. I don't think they're breaking like, oh my God, somebody's predicting the Eagles might win the NFC East next year.
I don't put any stock into it before free agency in the draft. Like,
I see. I put more stock into it that they believe, as currently constituted, they believe the Eagles are better than Dallas. Before you get to free agency,
I'm sorry. Remind me who did this study?
This is the Fox NFL crew.
I think their assumption is that they know Howie Roseman's going to go out and get players,
and that could be too.
That they're going to. Shore some things up with the draft or whatever. But Pat.
Well, to me, it's like, it's the NFL crew. They got to talk about the NFL. There's not a lot of storylines going on right now. So what are we going to do? The way too early prediction of who are the favorites. And right now, it might be the Eagles, but Dallas could go out and have the best draft in the world, and they could end up having an incredible free agency. And next thing you know, it's like we're sitting here in May having a totally different conversation. So for me, it's just too early to make a proclamation of, all right, the Eagles are right there. They're ahead of this team. They're ahead of that team. Like, we just got off the phone talking about trade speculation with the only edge rusher that can get home. So, in the secondary and that mess, and they don't have linebackers.
Okay, then what you're saying, though, would tell me that they would go Dallas then. They wouldn't go Eagles. They're looking at the teams as currently constituted and saying, what do you see projecting to next season? And they go Eagles.
Yeah, I just don't put any stock into it because it's too early.
Okay.
I mean, they can believe that. That's great. Thank you for having your faith in us.
Well, maybe they went over home and away opponents and they did L's and W's.
Let's
and
do
they
it.
came
Let's
up. We
do
could
it.
do that.
We can't do
W.
that.
I mean, we could because it means about
Brazil.
as much as them saying that.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
You're saying
these guys cover the NFL for a living. They talk to the Eagles coaches, players. They're in the locker rooms on some of these guys 3 and 4 times a year with the team. They believe something about it. I'm just saying, I don't think they just said, pick the Eagles. I believe that they had some reason to say, I think the Eagles might be the team.
And I bet you the majority of the country might say that. I don't.
I think most of the country's thinking the Eagles are a dumpster fire. I really do believe that.
It's like you said earlier, like outsiders looking in are saying, the Eagles will be fine. They were at the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They had that 1 year, whether they're calling it Super Bowl hang-off, no big deal. They'll be back.
That's how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it as a blip. I'm certainly hoping it's a blip.
We got to hope.
But part of it is trusting. Part of it is trusting that they will have a plan that will hopefully make it a little bit more creative for the offseason. Yesterday I said something. I got a little bit of grief from a listener. Alan sends along a note to me, and he says, how can you say Torts is the best head coach in town?
What do you say, Al?
Alan's a good dude, and he listens every day, and he appreciates us, and he gets to have his lunch listening to Andrew, and he'll sit in the car sometimes and listen to Andrew, he tells me. Sit in the car. That's dedication. I said you can listen on your phone. You don't have to sit in your car.
Yeah.
But he says, how can you say Torts is the best head coach in town? I think Torts is the best head coach in town. I think he's more accomplished in his field than Nick Nurse is. I think he's more accomplished, obviously, than Nick Sirianni is. And I don't, and Rob Thompson doesn't have enough of a resume. I think Torts is the best head coach in town. And he thought it was outlandish that I said that. And I'm looking at it and I'm saying, look, he's the most accomplished guy, the most experienced guy. He's got the ring. He's got three. He is the NHL coach that has tenures of 6 or more years with 3 franchises, which nobody else has. So he's a guy who has shown he can go to different places and sustain and create something. I think John Tortorella is I'm not going to go as far as to say treasure, but he is a guy that is the best head coach in this town right now.
He's a Hall of Fame coach.
Yes.
Oh, you
Now,
have to
granted-
take two away because they've hardly coached at all, so that
Yeah.
leaves him and Nick Nurse. And he's been around longer than Nick Nurse.
Well, that's exactly what I said. Is look, Nick Nurse hasn't had the time yet to be John Tortorella. His belief, by the way, was Nick Nurse. He thinks Nick Nurse is the best head coach in town.
And it's like,
He just thinks Nick Nurse is the. He said when Nick Nurse, he goes, just what he's seen out of Joel Embiid. He said Nick Nurse is the guy. I just wish that he had been here for Embiid's entire career.
yeah, that might have been interesting. Yeah, that could be very good.
He thinks we'd already have a ring by now. He thinks we would have won the year that they lost to the Hawks.
Yeah, I mean,
Makes a
it's
good
hard
point.
to say. Like, what has John Tortorella done since he's been here? He's rebuilding a program. He's trying to lay a foundation. Like, that's really hard to do. His job description compared to Nick Nurse's, my God, I don't know if you could have two that are at different ends of the spectrum more than those. You're talking about a guy that's trying to rebuild, trying to build a foundation compared to a guy that has all that and is trying to win a championship. They couldn't be more different in their endeavors of what they're trying to do with their individual organizations. Tortorella's done a great job so far. He's found some people, some pieces. He's grown some pieces. He's laid a foundation of how he wants hockey to be played in Philadelphia. Nick Nurse is way past that. They're not looking to figure out how to play or build a foundation. They have all that.
And
they're looking to get over a hump into a championship.
He said Nick Nurse is trying to swim in a river of alligators right now because of all the injuries and everything. And he goes, look how great it's been.
So, you don't think John Tortorella's swimming in there? He's got anacondas, alligators, pythons, piranhas. He's got everything in his river.
Hey, let's find out what Pat's got in his bag of tricks in Pat's Takes.
With or without. Either way, it's time for Pat's Takes.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Pat.
All right, have a seat. We will start out with college sports. NIL has changed the game in college sports, no doubt about it. Suddenly, kids are signing up to be Utah Utes that couldn't find Utah on a map, all because Bro Crunch creatine bars are giving them $50K. But if you're looking to get $50K from Tulsa, then look away, because according to head coach Kevin Wilson, being a member of the Golden Hurricanes is the prize. Not NIL money, nope, but donning that blue jersey and gold helmet. He recently addressed the media after the second National Signing Day, and he addressed this in direct nature of how to handle NIL questions. When one recruit asked him how much NIL he should expect if he committed to Tulsa, asking because he has 3 dogs and a girlfriend, Wilson told him that his advice would be to drop the dogs, possibly the girlfriend, but he can't make that call until he meets her. Now, Tulsa isn't the powerhouse they once were when G.J. Kinney was slinging the rock. They've fallen on some hard times. 4-8 last season. You would think that the desperation would lead Kevin Wilson to give potential recruits a blank check, but Wilson is 62 years old. 2 years ago, he was the OC of Ohio State, where they print NIL money. It's just not something that you worry about. It's like Jeff Bezos worrying about, gas money. It's out of sight, out of mind. Well, that's something the rich don't even consider. When Wilson got down in the tumbleweeds of Oklahoma, well, things are way different, but he's sticking to his guns. You want to get paid to wear the same jersey as Gus Frerotte. You want to get paid to get a degree from the same university that gave Phil McGraw the term Dr. Phil?
Doctor.
Then you got to get a job in the cafeteria then. No word on if the recruit got rid of the dogs, but one thing is clear. Wilson doesn't need any dogs because he's already got that dog in him. Woof.
Woof, woof. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, epic response.
That is one. The girlfriend thing is tough to navigate.
3
for these
dogs,
guys.
though, man. Like,
That's crazy.
I'm not criticizing dog owners. I have a dog. But when you're like 20, you got 3 dogs?
I don't know why you'd have that.
I mean,
The
yeah.
3
That's
dogs.
strange.
That's a bit much is all I'm
It
saying.
is,
Yeah.
and it's a huge expense.
Yeah. But I guess this one particular recruit was getting $6,000 from the school he was at. He entered the portal thinking he could get more. And Wilson said, no, man. All right. So since it's Valentine's Day, we will finish with a love story. Everyone knows dating is a contact sport, but you can lessen the wear and tear on the body by working smarter and not harder. It's a lot like load management. Swiping right all day for 10 hours a day can put a lot of strain on them thumbs. Then you've got to whittle down your matches. You've got to hold multiple conversations. All of that while trying not to get fired from the job that you hate. It's tough. But that's when Alexander Zhadan, a Russian software engineer, decided to change the game. He wanted to get laid by doing as little work as possible. That's. I thought it was the American dream. Turns out it's the Russian dream.
I think that's it.
Tell me the story.
And guys, it's not 2010 anymore. It's 2024, and technology can help you do that. So Zidane used his skills to create ChatGPT and AI software to hold 5,239 different conversations with Tinder matches. He scheduled over 100 dates. All he had to do was show up and then show out. That's it.
Oh.
Through time, he was able to program the bot to even talk and think like him. That way, when he showed up on the date and he ordered steak, and the girl wouldn't be turned off because the bot told her that he was a vegetarian. You know, a situation like that would occur. Well, he programmed the bot that it would just sound just like him. And it obviously worked because Zidane got plenty of interest. But then his creation did it one better. It found him a wife. Through the chat GPT, it matched him with Karina, long Russian name. I don't know how to say it. I'm not even going to try. But it felt like that she was the perfect match for Zidane. They met in person, and he quickly realized his robot matchmaker was right. She was perfect. It got to the point where the program sent Zidane a message saying, hey, bro, it's time to propose. So he decided to propose, and she said yes. Now, eventually, she learned that she had been duped by a robot this entire time, but she wasn't mad. She was simply impressed, and I will have the chicken at the wedding.
You're kidding me.
No, I found a wife.
Wow.
Okay,
Good-
that's
good for
really
him.
that's really crazy to me.
Yeah, it's. I was just more surprised she wasn't mad about it, but, you know, I'd be impressed by the ingenuity myself. All right, today in sports, literally just about nothing happened. The only thing worth a damn was in 1966, Wilt Chamberlain broke the NBA scoring record with 20,884 points. That's more than double the amount of women he slept with. And that's it.
Really, that's it.
And that's it. That sticks.
You don't believe that story about how many women he right?
No, you break down
There's no much, yeah.
the time and the days, and no, it's. I mean, look, I can believe
Next.
7,000, but 10.
Next.
I mean,
come on.
seriously.
Eventually, you know, you're
Why
tapping out.
why is he saying that?
He's not anymore. He's dead.
No, I understand, but why when he
Just
does
facts.
it? Why would he? Well, but they weren't facts.
No, I'm saying the fact that he's dead is fact.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, you
fact.
can't argue that.
Yeah, you can't. The idea of just though is I guess clout.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Like he's thinking that that's clout.
I don't know.
I mean, it's
We should talk to Miss Rhonda about it.
I what?
She was friends. She has a connection to Chamberlain, like her
Really?
aunt. Somebody, I forget who it was. Miss Rhonda, who works here with us, for those out there that don't know.
Oh, I was glad.
She has a picture. So Miss Rhonda in her office has a bunch of pictures, and it's great. She has pictures of all of us. But there's one picture of her standing there and Wilt Chamberlain with his arms around her. And of course, Pat and I right away were like, Miss Rhonda? And she goes, no, I wasn't one of them. But I think, what was it, Pat? Do you remember her aunt or something was like a teacher of his or something? So she had a connection there with Wilt.
Wow, that is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. I
Yeah.
did not know that. Ms. Rhonda, well, when you said it, my jaw dropped because I was thinking. I'm glad
No.
that you were able to
Yes,
clarify
no.
that one for us because that's that's incredible to me.
Hey, got some horrible news here, and I
no.
hate to
No.
do this, but if you're a Sixers fan and you guys watching games, there's two people, season ticket holders, long before I was even covering the team, Bob and Judy Green. They sit right behind the basket. If I were to show you their pictures, you'd be, oh, yeah, I see them on there all the time. Matt Cord just sent me a text that Judy Green has passed away, and it's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful lady, a huge part of the Sixers organization as a fan, beloved by so many. So heartbreaking news. Our hearts go out to Bob Green.
That is terrible news.
Yeah, I don't mean to be a downer, but she deserves to get a shout out because she was just a beautiful, beautiful woman.
The Bob wants to know about the side stories and what the side stories of the Eagles tell you about the main story. We'll discuss more as we march towards Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit there. John Kincade Show on 97.5 The Fanatic.
97.5 The Fanatic right now, and you're hearing about all these great opportunities from our sponsors. What would it feel like to listen and hear us talking about your business? More importantly, how will you feel when your phone rings with people saying, I heard you on 97.5 The Fanatic? Find out how you can make that happen. Send an email to marketing@975thefanatic.com. That's marketing@975thefanatic.com. The next commercial you hear could be yours.
You know, Punxsutawney Phil may have gone and back into his hole, but now that football season's over, I refuse to put down the BetParks app. I still want to have the fun. I still want to have the engagement. I still want to have the chance for the excitement of watching a game and using their live betting option where I can walk in the second quarter of a Sixers game and still be able to make a wager on the game. The line's always changing. Obviously, hockey has been great. And right now, with Philadelphia hockey on the rise and baseball right around the corner, the BetParks app is absolutely amazing. Now, it's the BetParks Sportsbook and Casino app. So they've got all the great slot games and the card games that you might want to play to and all the table sports that you can use. New customers get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're not a winner in the first 24 hours if you're a new customer. The BetParks app is absolutely awesome. Check out betparks.com and get the details for yourself. Just because football's over doesn't mean that your gambling fun has to end. You got to be 21 and in Pennsylvania, Jersey, Ohio, or Maryland. Should you have a gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER.
WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, this is where we got to use the BS detector that Bob Cooney employs. He's actually got this device after all the years, and it's built into him like a robot. Sometimes you hear a story, and you wonder, is someone just screwing around, or did someone have a real interest? Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN puts out a piece, you can check it out at ESPN.com, that the Golden State Warriors attempted to trade for LeBron James. They called about his availability, and we're told, no dice. We're not trading him. But it wasn't the first call that they got about trading for LeBron James. Philadelphia 76ers president of basketball operations, Daryl Morey, had called Rob Pelinka to probe on a James trade and was immediately told that James wasn't available. In fact, Pelinka said to him, is Joel Embiid available? And that ended the conversation. Now, it also, that Morey reportedly also called the Suns and asked about a trade for Durant prior to the deadline. When he was told no, he then asked about the availability of Devin Booker and Bradley Beal too. And unsurprisingly, those were no's as well. So I ask you, Bob, with your BS detector firmly tuned up, is that just Daryl Morey rattling cages, making calls, having a little bit of fun, or is that he's seriously going, one of these guys may actually say, well, what would you offer?
Yeah.
So you think it's the latter?
The latter, yeah. I mean, you're sitting on a ton of money. You're sitting on a lot of holes that you have to fill for next year. Why not shoot at the top, first of all, and then work your way down? So, yeah, good on Daryl Morey. I don't leave any stone unturned if I was him, if I was anybody else. You know, I mean, it's like Pat in high school. He always asked the best-looking girl to the prom. Didn't always work out, but he tried, and
Didn't
that's
always work out or never worked out.
It worked out when
It
he
did
finally
work out?
when he finally. Well, I said it didn't always. The one time it didn't. The other times it did because he finally found who became
See?
his wife. But no, I don't call BS on it at all. And I kind of applaud. I fully applaud Daryl Morey for doing that. Sure, you're in a weird situation that we talked about. You have one guy under contract in Joel Embiid. You might have another guy under contract in Paul Reed. You're going to extend Tyrese Maxey. After that, man, you're wide open. And when we talked to Morey the other day, and I said to him, like, you know, might you revisit some of these guys, a Buddy Hield, a Tobias Harris? Yeah. Not only does he want to, he has to. You got to fill out a roster next year.
LeBron James, though?
Yeah, I don't know the reasoning behind that, but, you know. LeBron James is still a pretty good player in the NBA.
No, he is. I was a little surprised by that. I think it's.
Oh yeah, it is surprising, but I think it's great. Good for you. I'm glad to hear.
I like the fact that he checks every single box that he wants to see.
We would get pissed if we had found out that a player like LeBron, who we think is untradeable, ends up getting traded at the deadline, and we would get pissed that Daryl Morey didn't do due diligence and call. I mean, if I'm him, if I'm sitting on the toilet, I'm texting random GMs about their best player just to see. Just I got time to kill. Fine, I'll see. I'll see if anyone's available. I remember when the Sixers traded for Tobias Harris, Elton Brand told us. I think the statute of limitations is up on the story, but Elton Brand told us that the conversation originally started with the Clippers calling the Sixers about the availability of Joel Embiid, and to the story that that you guys talked about with Rob saying, "Was Joel Embiid available?" I think Elton Brand countered with, "Well, is Tobias Harris available?" And he was surprised because Tobias Harris was available.
That's incredible.
That spurred on the conversation. So yeah, I mean, you hey, shoot or shoot. I mean, you try. Because it's the NBA, and you just never know who's not content, not happy, looking to rebuild, and you have to. I get pissed off as a Phillies fan seeing some of the moves that other teams in the league make. I'm like, why weren't you calling about that guy? So I'm like that with just about every sport. So why wouldn't I be like that with basketball? I like the fact that he at least tried. I mean, it was a quick conversation. I'd expect it to be a quick conversation, but yeah, you should try.
Now, Bob, in the NBA, do you think that the bat signals up on most guys where they understand who's available and who isn't available, who's on the block and who isn't, or does it tend to be sometimes maybe a little more covert that you just stumble onto guys being available?
Look, it's just like being a journalist. You can maybe 9 times out of 10 know the answer to the question you're going to get, but you have to ask it, right? Like
you might know how they feel, but you have to actually ask them, how do you feel?
Yeah, because there might be that
how
one
do you
time.
Feel, Pat?
There might be that one time that you get the answer like, whoa, okay, here it is. But if you don't ask it, you're never going to get that answer. So do you know that some guys probably aren't available? Yeah, I don't think Daryl Morey went into it and said, you know what? I'll bet you LeBron's available. Let me call about that. No, he's probably like, I know he's not, but let me ask anyway.
He reportedly saw LeBron's that hourglass tweet that he put out, and it wasn't that he was a fan of Days of Our Lives. It's that he was saying, hey, time's ticking.
Is there anyone that is?
Let's get on it. Many are huge fans. Your grandma probably still loves it. That he's going to make that call. It tells me a lot about Daryl Morey. I like it.
Yeah,
I like what Pat, sort of what Pat said. I love the kicking the tires thing. Don't let any stone go unturned, and hopefully, one of those times somebody answers the phone and goes, "Oh yeah,
I'll
talk a deal."
Especially with the position they're in. You have
all the freedom they've got,
expiring contracts. I would look with the position that he's in. I would have looked at every biggest contract in the league and dialed. Okay, LeBron James. No. Okay, thank you, scratch. Kevin Durant. No. Okay, thank you, scratch. I would have, because you had that much money to unload and the opportunity for Phoenix to say, you know what? Yeah, you're right. We kind of do want this Bradley Beal contract off of our records here. You're like, ding, 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 ding.
It was funny to hear Kevin Durant talking about. He was talking after last night's game. And he said, no offense to the guys that were in this locker room before he goes, but, I'm real excited to play with these guys. And I love that we now got some veteran leadership in this locker room. When does Kevin Durant become the veteran leader? When is he the vet? Is he never going to be the veteran leader? I would think Kevin Durant's the veteran leader in the locker room, for God's sakes.
Why? Why? Maybe Kevin Durant just likes coming in, hanging out with the guys, and then going and playing basketball. Leaders are guys that feel they need to oversee things and comment on this maybe and do that maybe. Maybe Kevin Durant's a dude that just walks in the locker room, jokes around, goes and does his work, puts up his 25, 30 points a night, and that's what he does. I'm okay with that. Like I said, leadership.
I know you hate the word. It's the idea, though, that
I don't hate the word. I hate the idea that it's a must.
I'm thinking of the all-time greats. And all of them seem to have that kind of attribute to them. Like, very rarely would you have the guy. He just wants to show up and play basketball. Maybe Allen
I don't say
Iverson.
just.
No, but Allen Iverson. He wants to play games.
I bet you there was probably more than you think.
You think it's legend more, Pat, that people?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know the all-time greats, but when you look at all-time greats that were vocal leaders that would get on their teammates, that wanted to be the bad guy in the room. We talked about John Stockton earlier. I can't tell you for sure, but I kind of doubt that John Stockton was getting in people's faces. They probably played good cop, bad cop with Karl Malone.
Yeah, and I bet I know who the bad cop was.
I mean, I don't know if Patrick Ewing was getting in people's feet. He might have been, but I'm sure the other guys on that team were probably the bad cops. Patrick Ewing is always smiling. Like, he just, you've got all-time greats, but some guys just aren't built to necessarily be leaders. They don't want to be followers. They're just they're content with being the best player, and they're going to let the other glue guys kind of handle the locker room.
Yeah,
like
some guys could answer that and say, yeah, my best way of being a leader is to play the best basketball I can play. I don't know what more this team wants from me or what I'm supposed to do, but I'm just coming in here and playing the best basketball I can, or football, hockey, baseball, whatever. Other stuff, that's a lot to put on somebody to say. It's like I told you before. Who was the dude? Carl Landry gets picked up by the Sixers during kind of process time. And Brett Brown built him up 28 years old. We needed a guy like this in here and in the young locker room to be a leader. I get a one-on-one and sit down with him, and he's like, I ain't no leader. He said, I'm 28, and I'm just trying to stay in this league. I can't worry about anybody else. I'm worrying about me. I want to make this team better by the way I play. I can't worry about more than that. And, yeah, I think leadership labels sometimes, are probably put on people wrongly, John.
Yeah, like when Michael Jordan entered the league, I'd say probably Charles Oakley was the Bulls leader before MJ kind of came into his own.
And MJ wasn't a beloved leader.
No.
In fact, the stories are he was a jackass.
Yeah, I mean, he was the guy that would get in people's faces, but it took time to develop that.
Right.
And then Charles Oakley goes to New York, and that's another example of a guy like the toughness and the leadership of guys that you don't think necessarily are all-time greats, but they had to be the bad cop in the room and tell people, we discussed a couple weeks ago the Pat Beverly clip of him telling Tyrese Maxey, look, man, everyone's going to pat you on the back and tell you it's okay. Like, it ain't okay. Like, we need you because Joel's out. Step up. And you need that. You need somebody to do that, and sometimes it's just not the best player.
9 o'clock hour is brought to you by the Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. Did you know that? You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. For details, go to Bagster.com. Get those cleanup projects. Bob says spring is always the time to do that, so the spring's right around the corner. Go buy your Bagster and get ready to load it all up with all that junk you got to get rid of. The Eagles have, some people would say, there are some sideshow stories around the Eagles right now. But then there's a main story. The question is, what do the side stories have to do with the main story, or vice versa? You're looking at this team in the off season.
Yeah, and kind of the biggest kind of side story of this off season has been the adventures of Jason Kelce, right? Look at him; he's partying in Las Vegas, and he's doing this with his brother. He's got his shirt off in Buffalo. He's drinking with the fans out in the tailgate. All of those things. Okay, you really need to know if this guy's playing football again or not. And I'm not saying cut it out, Kelce. Let's go. Let us know if you're playing. No, I'm not saying that, but it's kind of taken away from a little bit. Like, what is going on here? Is he playing or not? So my question to you guys that I wanted to put out there was, has all of these side things that I just mentioned, the fun that he's having, all of that, has it changed your mind or convinced you stronger one way or the other of what he's going to do?
Well, first off, I'm tired of the story.
You're tired of him partying?
I'm incredibly tired of. I'm tired. I want to know what's going on, and I don't believe that Schefter ran with the story after that game that was false. I think it maybe now he could be waffling, but I'm a little tired of seeing all the thing. Him and Travis, to me, are overexposed. But I love the New Heights. I do enjoy listening to part of their podcast every single week. But it's to me, I'm convinced he's done.
Yeah.
I'm convinced he's done.
Have his actions.
That
and
tells
look,
me
I am
he's
not-
done. It's like
I am all for fun, people. So don't think that I'm on the stop
No,
having
no,
fun.
no,
He can
no.
do whatever he wants. I kind of like it. But has his actions over the last month or so reinforced what you think?
Yeah, no, it convinced me more that he's done. That it leads me to believe that he's done. It's almost like he's becoming more of a character than who he really is. It's an image. It's a character. It's a brand. And to me, that is, I always thought Jason Kelce, number one, is a team, lead by example, that type of thing. I think it's great that he's having a great time and everything. And honestly, if he wants to retire, applaud it. If he wants to come back, I'm going to be thrilled. But I'm a little tired of the story. I think him and Travis both, it's a little overexposure. That's for me.
What about you, Pat? Do you think kind of the side stuff that's been going on recently, has that reinforced, convinced you one way or the other, played anything on your mind?
Yeah, let me just start off by saying that I'm disappointed in you.
Who?
Because you Bob
Me?
Cooney.
Why is that?
Because you're a guy that says fun's the best thing to have. And
Right.
here you are, ripping and criticizing.
He's not ripping.
Dude, are you listening a little bit?
No, I wasn't. And persecuting.
I'm not. I'm all for it,
You
and I'm
hate
not sick of it.
And
I
the fact that
I love watching it.
You want to usher him out of here, an all-time
Usher?
great.
See?
Again, I did it
You're
again.
doing it again?
No, I'm just busting your stones, Bobby. Yeah, the clip that we played a couple days ago that John found of Kelce saying, I think the Eagles
They,
are good at
they.
Yeah, the they. That put my percentage from like 6% to probably like back to 3% that he's done, because that was telling to me. But it might just be he's trying to see what media job he can get, and he won't have a problem getting a media job. He's a very very charismatic figure. But no, none of it's annoyed me. I do believe what John said. They're very overexposed right now. I'm kind of getting sick of it. But I think that one clip, more than anything, told me, yeah, he's likely done. The beer drinking and the partying it up.
Shirt off.
No, none of that. None of that. Because it's the off season. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, go have fun.
Yeah.
But that one clip in an interview where he's talking they, that was kind of like, oh, yeah, he's probably leaning towards retirement. But I think he really is like battling it out with what to do. I think initially after that game, guys, that playoff game, I wanted to retire as an Eagles fan. I had my Super Bowl trophy. I remember that moment, and I was ready to hang it up because that's how bad the end of the season was, and that's how bad that playoff game was. So while I believe that he's done, and I believe that he told teammates he was done, I think he probably woke up 2 days later and said, all right, let me actually think about this. I'm being a little reactive in the moment. I think ultimately they'll be a new center.
Now, one of our friends here on YouTube says the Eagles know what he's doing. Do you think that?
No, absolutely
I don't.
not.
Not right now.
Nope.
You think they gave him a deadline, or he said, like, when they need to know by, I'll let you know then?
Yes. I do
Okay.
not believe for a second that the Eagles know.
I think they need to know by the draft.
Sure.
But I don't think it's like, I don't think Howie Roseman has called up Jason Kelce and said, hey, you got a decision yet?
See, I
He
think
might
they
be
would-
checking in, but it's not like he's rushing a decision from Jason Kelce. And I think Jason Kelce knows that he's got to say one way or the other at some point. But I don't think they're going to address the right guard spot in free agency. I could be wrong. I mean, they went out and got Brandon Brooks that one year and gave him a huge contract. So they could, but I don't think Jason Kelce is holding up plans for free agency. The draft, maybe, but they also drafted Tyler Steen in the third round.
Right.
They might look to put him at guard next year. So they usually do have contingency plans in place for replacement guys. And guard position's a lot easier to fill than center, and center's already filled with Cam Jurgens. They drafted his replacement. So I think they're in a good spot where they can afford to wait on him.
I believe that I believe that they would want to know by free agency.
Oh, God, yeah.
Like they'd want to know before I don't think they want to give him 7 more weeks after the free. No, it's 4. The draft is 5 weeks after free agency.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could be very naive with this, but I don't think that they're calling him up the day before free agency saying, what are you doing? Because as I said, I don't think he's holding up their ultimate plans for free agency. I think their free agency plans are mostly defense.
One thing that I was told by someone that is an NFL analyst right now was, I think the question is going to be whether the networks see him as a studio guy or as a games guy. And Mark Schlereth, and the idea of when you're an analyst, there's a game analyst. There's a lot more involved as far as the job.
I think he is an NFL on Fox guy.
You mean
He's right there with
in studio?
They
Yeah,
already
in
have,
studio.
they already have Gronk waiting there, and they have Edelman.
No, and I'm just saying like he of that elk.
So you think studio?
Whether it's CBS, NFL, whatever. I think he's built for a show like that where he can kind of goof around and.
I think it's got to be CBS or ESPN because I don't think he wants to get on a plane and go to LA every weekend. You know what I mean?
If you remember, he did that like broadcasting symposium former players at ESPN where they were able. I mean, it basically was like a broadcasting boot camp for a couple days, and they got to try out their skills and see if they liked it or not, and that ended up leading him to creating new heights. But that would make a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, it's a quick flight. Or
they don't have
whatever.
the same. Not that they don't have the same dedication to their craft, but to do the network pregame shows and stuff like that isn't as big a commitment.
Yeah, and
you can come in on Saturday and you can go home on Sunday night if you want.
And if one of the reasons why you want to retire is to spend time with the family and the kids,
that does it better.
Yeah, the travel of having to go to this game, that game, the other game. No, it's just all right. I'm going up to Bristol. I'll see you in a day.
I'd make him a specialist. Like not set in studio guy, not a analyst guy for a game. I don't know. I'd send him around to do interviews with. I would look for the quirky players. I would look for those.
A Saragusa type role. Remember Tony Saragusa?
Yeah, sure.
Do the weird stuff.
Yeah. Have him standing in the end zone and stuff like that. I didn't mind him.
I liked him too.
I was not a Saragusa.
You didn't like
fan.
Saragusa?
No, Saragusa was the captain of Captain Obvious.
God, Pat, though, I can just tell you, if you ever had met him, you would have loved him.
Yeah, and I'm sure I would have.
You would have loved him.
I didn't think he was very good at that job, but I'm sure he was a great
Tony's
guy.
A good dude.
Yeah, I always kind of rolled my eyes when they would go to him, but I mean, yeah, maybe he could end up getting something out of players in a one-on-one interview. Maybe he'll be the next Tom Rinaldi, Bobby.
I don't think he's going to
make you
people
cry.
crying.
Yeah, ESPN hasn't had a guy to make people cry in quite some time.
But
since Tom left.
Yeah, you find the quirkiest good player on every team, right? And then you set up every week. All right, Jason, we're going to have you go interview this dude. Now they're in season, so they can't do it, but somewhere funny at the local bar this guy goes to and eats wings, and then we want you going there, or this guy grew up a Buffalo fan, so go out to the tailgate and talk about him, whatever. But I could find a spot for him like that.
He's made for that.
Yeah,
he's so too, right?
made for that. Yeah.
Going to tailgates and partying with the crowd. He is made to be on like the NFL Network, doing that and doing a live shot from some tailgate as he's eating pizza out of a filing cabinet.
Yeah, and then you dive a little deeper. Like I think he said in his documentary that he was opening a farm, or he has a farm, he owns a farm or something.
And he has bulls and cows.
Yeah, and you have him go like, all right, meet with a guy, one of the great offensive linemen on the Cincinnati Bengals. Also has an interest in. So have them go cut balls off one day. And, didn't he say he did that, right?
Yeah, but, I don't want to see that.
I don't want to see that.
But,
would not
have
be
their
good.
reaction
I don't want my
technique and all that,
I don't want to know about the technique.
Well, you have to have the right technique. Otherwise, it doesn't go well.
Oh. Hey,
stop, please.
Bob says there's no rules to fandom. But I saw something again yesterday, and it's one of my pet peeves. And I'm going to ask if there should be a statute of limitations on something in sports. We'll get to that coming up, plus plenty more on the Eagles in the offseason ahead. John Kincade.
The John Kincade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Appreciate you hanging out with us all morning long. I know that Andrew Saltunis and Connor Thomas in for Ray today are planning a very creative midday show for you, so don't miss it. That comes up in around 35 minutes. So be ready to go with that. On this Valentine's Day, also Ash Wednesday today. So Fat Tuesday yesterday. What did you do with Fat Tuesday, Bob? Did you ever end up overindulging yesterday at all? Like you're supposed to?
No.
Get fat?
No, I didn't fat it up yesterday. Just had we did Taco Tuesday yesterday.
I love.
So very casual.
You know, LeBron invented that. Just ask him. He invented that.
Huh.
He believes he invented it.
Huh.
Yeah, interesting.
You know.
Yeah, just it was around 10, 15, 20 years before him, but it's all right. He thought he invented it. He tried to.
Who's going to tell him different?
Well, the internet did. When he said that it was, he got told by the internet. I want to ask you, Bob, you say there's no rules to fandom.
No, absolutely not.
And Pat is a guy who understands fandom.
Yeah. I think there are some certain rules that I abide by and
in fandom. You and I do. You and I do have rules. I saw something yesterday, and it's so weird because it was a snowy day, and it's a deliberate drive home because people were being very careful on the roadways, and I took the back roads home. There is something that, and the statute of limitations comes into play to me, of fandom. I saw 3 cars with Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl champions license plate frames on them yesterday.
Well, magnets, huh?
No, it was none of your magnets. By the way, I told you, Market Street Grill, they've got one.
And I appreciate
right up there in Westchester.
They're real ones.
They're great. Christian and the gang, they got it right up there at the door. 4133, you see it when you come in. But I saw 3 different cars I got behind on Montgomery Avenue and then Lancaster Avenue and cutting across to Westchester Pike. 3 different cars in front of me. 2 were trucks with Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl champions license plate frames. Now, I'm a nerd. So at the end of I had a Philadelphia Eagles NFC champions license plate frame on this past year. And I took it off the minute the Eagles were eliminated and switched it to my Phillies license plate frame. And I had a Phillies National League champions license plate frame. But the minute the Arizona Diamondbacks beat them and they aren't there, I take that off and I switch it to something else. And it never goes back on. Bob, you have no rules. So you're probably thinking this is psycho stuff.
I think you're absolutely freaking insane.
But
that you care that much about something being on your license plate.
But 6 years later, people are still riding around with Eagles Super Bowl champion license plate frames?
Yeah.
I think it's borderline Cowboy fans.
No. Totally disagree. I mean, Cowboys were going on 30-something years, but
no, I understand.
The Cowboys also had 5, 6 championships.
Okay,
I mean, the Eagles have 1. Let me enjoy that bad boy when it's dark times and you're losing a Baker Mayfield and a bad Bucks team.
We make fun of other fan bases.
We make fun of other fan bases that have spent 30 years talking about the glory days. I'm talking about 6 years ago. 30 years. I mean, 30, 35. Like that's a little bit different.
So you have no problem with the license plate frames, the Eagles Super Bowl champs?
No.
From 6 years?
No. If I saw a 93 Phillies one, I'd kind of raise an eyebrow, but like whatever.
I think you'd like that one.
No,
you wouldn't. You wouldn't respect that one greatly if you saw that one?
Because I saw 08, so I'd be like,
okay.
But like whatever. I mean, I'm somebody that I don't wash my car, so if I put a license plate cover on, it's staying on until that car is driven into a wall again.
So one of my sons was walking around the house the other day with his high school class of 2015 or whatever it was shirt on. I should have ripped it off of him and said that was 9 years ago. What are you doing?
No, it's not a. There's other things. It's
memories of a good time.
Yeah, but he's not bragging. You put that on your car. You're bragging. You're saying, "Hey, we're champs, man. We're the champs."
I don't know if he goes out in the Wawa, he might be bragging to some people that he graduated. Like if I meet a 17-year-old who's a junior in high school, it's like, "Hey, bro, you don't have what I have. Piece of paper says I'm educated. You don't have that degree.
Right.
I do. 2015. Respect it. Respect the brand." Camden Catholic. What do you know about it? You know nothing about it.
See,
I mean, it could
ask
it's
about
Washington
me.
Township, actually. But he could, this could be a guy that threw it on there after the thing in Euphoria and has totally forgotten about it. You've probably put more thought driving
I
behind
do.
this dude
Yes, I did.
than this dude did about having it on there.
I mean, is there other so Pat, you are of the Bob line of this is certifiably nuts take.
Yes. Now I have had in my life similar things where I will acknowledge this is crazy.
Okay, what like?
Like,
Give me
for
one.
example, I used to be habitual about if I had the starting pitcher jersey, I'd wear the starting pitcher jersey on the day that the starting pitcher pitched.
So I got no
And
problem with that.
I wouldn't, with all due respect, I'm not looking for your affirmation here. I'm looking for Bobby's. You're a psycho. We already established that. Now getting up at 4:30 in the morning, I'm putting on anyone's jersey. I'm not looking at pitching matchups and rotations and whatnot. That was the big one. I've never been a huge fan into like if you're like, let's say, an Eagles fan and you like the Phoenix Suns.
Oh.
I don't have a problem with whoever you like whoever, whatever. But I don't like when you're wearing Eagles stuff and you'll have like a Suns hat.
Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
I know some people are their rule is like you can't wear Philly stuff with Sixer stuff. You can't wear Sixer stuff with Eagles stuff, and I'm okay with that. I mean, I'm guilty of it, so yeah, I'm okay with it. But when you're mixing other cities, that's where I go like,
Well, what's the Philly tuxedo? It's sweatpants and two teams logos.
Yeah, two teams. Yeah,
two teams logos and sweatpants. Bob, have you ever heard the Philly tuxedo, Bob?
No.
That is a Philly tuxedo.
Apparently, I dress in that quite a bit.
That's the Philly tuxedo. Two different teams, though. It can't be Phillies. It's got to be Phillies, Sixers, and
yeah.
sweatpants. That's the Philly tuxedo. That's a Philly tuxedo.
I think my shirt today is Sixers and my hat's Phillies. So, I'm
and you
wearing
usually
sweatpants,
do coordinate, don't you?
Yeah. I try to as best I
It
can.
works that. But it's just it's just something I was thinking of yesterday. And if you were, by the way, if you own that big white truck that was in front of me, you're driving a gigantic big white truck on Lancaster Avenue, and the roads are just slushy. And this guy was driving like he was Granny. And he's got a truck that looks like it could be in the monster truck pull. Get out of just move over to the right and put on your flashers and have somebody come and drive you. Don't be scared. There are a lot of injuries right now in Philadelphia sports. Pat was questioning these yesterday. And you had a really interesting thought, Pat, as far as a hierarchy of what's going on.
So right now, I look at the three teams, Flyers, not so much, but the three teams that are dealing with big-time injuries that could affect them going forward. And there's a trickle-down effect with all of them. And I'm going to give you the three injuries, and you tell me what's the worst one. And I want you to consider the trickle-down effect because that part's the big part. You've got Sidney Brown, who's going to be out for the majority of the year, okay, at the safety spot. Andrew Painter probably won't pitch at all this season because it took so long for Tommy John. And then Joel Embiid. Now, on the surface right away, you go, that's a ridiculous question. Joel Embiid, of course, he's the best player. And you're right, he is. But Joel Embiid isn't going anywhere. At least, I'm going to assume he's not going anywhere. Joel Embiid possibly could return this season, whereas the other two guys, they're probably not playing next season.
Yeah, I would.
And it might affect what the Eagles do in free agency when it comes to the secondary. Ideally, I think they'd want to slide Sidney Brown right next to Reed Blankenship, and there's your safety tandem. Now they have to go out and get somebody. Andrew Painter, ideally, they'd want him to be the fifth starter. Now he can't be, but they also can't go out and give a big-time contract to a Blake Snell or Jordan Montgomery because they know that he is on the way. He is really, really close. So while Joel Embiid is the big-time injury because he is the best player, the fact that he can return in probably a month and a half, and I have my doubts about that, but a lot of people don't. It leads me to go like maybe one of these other two guys is actually the bigger injury because it's just affecting the team's futures and the team's planning for the next season. So I ask you, which one's is the biggest injury to Philly sports right now?
All right, so I'll start, John. I'm sorry.
Go on.
No, go ahead.
No.
All right. I'm taking Painter out of it because we're talking about a guy when healthy is the fifth starter, and he only plays one out of every 5 days.
Okay.
So I'll take that one out of it in my looking at it.
Now the weird thing is I went Painter, and the reason I went is sort of what Pat was outlining there. I think it log jams them making a move in 2024 that could potentially push this team over the top. Another big-name starting pitcher that could potentially push this team into a division title and everything like that because you can invest. So sort of what Pat's thinking was on that, I am a believer that it's Painter.
That's the worst injury right now.
Yes.
And I put that as the least of mine. Because, like I said, he's only a 1 out of every 5-day player.
Sure.
And he is your 5th starter. And their 5th starter that they have right now, I don't mind him. So, maybe it's something moving forward. Sidney Brown, that's devastating in the thought of, man, you thought he was. I was hoping he's the guy. Plug and play, teach him how you want to teach him, use the skills that he has. So that one's devastating to me. But no, nothing can overtake taking the best player of the league out.
Even the
fact that he may come back.
Okay. That's fine. Yeah, and I think
because that cost you a season. A Sidney Brown injury didn't cost you a season, and Andrew Painter not being here next year doesn't really cost you a season. Joel Embiid, should he not come back, and even if he does, that probably cost you this season.
Yeah, I think the majority of people listening are going to go with Joel Embiid right out the gate, and then after hearing our reasoning on why you might pick the other players, they still go Joel Embiid because of what you just said. Yeah, if he doesn't come back, your season's cooked.
Your season is cooked.
The Painter stuff to me is really frustrating. It was frustrating last season when it happened. You guys remember those conversations and
that they delayed it.
Yeah, they just kicked the can on the road.
You kept calling for it long before they even said it.
Yeah, because I wanted to see him pitch this season, and now you're in a situation where he won't be back until August or September. At that point, the minor league season's wrapping up, and because he's such a coveted arm, they're not going to put him out there. And I think. Not next season, but the season after, they're going to want a rotation of Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, Mick Abel, and Andrew Painter. Because 3 of those guys are going to be cheap. The 2 frontline guys are going to be expensive, but it's going to allow you to do other things. But I ultimately agree. I think the Joel Embiid one's the biggest one. The second, I'd put Sidney Brown because I don't know what they're going to do with the safety spot, and that's been a hole. They might have to go out there and overpay for some guy on a 1-year deal to get him, which
another like C.J. Gardner Johnson type contract.
Yeah, because I think they'd have to overpay in the sense of guys want the stability of knowing where they're going to play for a couple of years there. Now, okay, well, we know who our future safety is. It's not going to be you, random guy. We just need you to be a 1-year stopgap until the guy comes back. And because of that, you might have to overpay, which becomes a larger cap hit, which becomes an issue with Landon Dickerson getting an extension and Devontae Smith getting an extension, and we don't know what's going on with Reddick. So that one I think is pretty close, but I still go it's probably Joel Embiid.
The Sidney Brown thing, man. I was really looking for something different. A guy you plug and play, you live with the mistakes, you watch him grow. My God, when he had that interception against Arizona, I guess it was.
Great return that day.
Oh, the speed that he showed. And I think they came out and said it was the second fastest somebody had run in the NFL that year.
And he danced around.
And he's a hitter, and he anticipates. Now, did they have to dial him back a little bit to be more conducive to what they wanted to do? Probably. I guess that was the thing. But I would love to see him have that chance. So, Sidney Brown injury, that sucked really badly.
It is huge, and it's something that does really screw them up.
It couldn't come at a worse time. I mean, it comes to the last game of the season.
Oh.
You're like, all right, well, best case scenario, you come back in, December?
And then best case.
And then you don't know what you're coming, like what kind of player he's going to be when he comes back. I mean, the odds that he comes back and he's like just 100% the old Sidney Brown, it's the same argument I make with Joel Embiid. The odds are if he comes back this season, he's not, the same guy who's dropping 40 points a game. He's got to work his way into that. And for Sidney Brown, I don't know what you're getting if he does end up coming back this season. I think he's pretty much shut down for all of 2024, which sucks.
The one thing that I'm sorry.
No, that's all right. Go ahead.
The one thing that frustrates me most about the Painter thing, and Pat did call it. He kept calling it out last year, that kick the can mentality, is the fact that this would have been the perfect team for a young guy like Andrew Painter to get his bones, to be the 5th starter. No pressure on him for a team with a really good offense, would have given him some runs to work with. This would have been a great year for him to just get his feet wet. And it's totally wasted. And it also blocks you because you don't want to go make the investment in some bigger name pitcher because of the fact that you don't know what the situation is. You're hoping Painter's going to be back, that he's going to be a guy who's part of your rotation next year. So you're not going to need one of these guys to be around.
You don't want a situation where you got a high-priced guy blocking a younger, cheaper player.
And that makes this year less likely to win a championship.
Yeah, I mean, Mick Abels reached AAA last season. Apparently, he looked really good in the Futures game. And, the Painter situation, he was expected to make the team out of camp last season and compete for a rotation spot. So you got two players that are really, really close, and you don't want an expensive guy who's blocking them, where at that point, if you do want to pull a Jim Thome, Ryan Howard situation, you got to trade Jim Thome. Like, everybody knows it. So then you're taking pennies on the dollar. Not that they didn't get good prospects and a good return for Jim Thome, but you're probably not getting the same amount that you normally would have if teams don't know, oh, yeah, by the way, we have this phenom coming and we need the rotation spot, and this guy's pretty expensive, and yeah, he was okay, but we kind of overpay. All right, what does somebody need for him? Yeah, every team's always looking for starting pitcher, but I'm worried that they would make that commitment in a year they'd be trying to get out of it.
Sixers in the Heat tonight. You'll hear it here on 97.5 The Fanatic as the Sixers try to extend their lead over Miami, because this is where we talked about at the beginning of the show today, the idea that, look, I just don't want to fall behind into that play-in tournament line. And right now you got a 3.5 game lead on the Heat. You don't want to open the door to make the Heat believe that, yeah, we got a really good chance to catch the Sixers. We can do this. We can catch them. A win tonight would push them 4.5 back, makes it a lot more comfortable, because really it's the Heat is the only team I'm really worried about. I'm not worried about Orlando coming up and snaking them, even though the same 3.5 game lead, I'm not worried about Orlando in the long term.
No, it's big tonight for a variety of things. You had a really good outing the other night, even though you have all these injuries. All these injuries are still there tonight. Tobias Harris isn't playing, and so on and so forth. So it's kind of the same lineup you had the other night. Miami did play last night in Milwaukee and won big. So you're getting them on the back end of a back-to-back, which is nice. And I always think it's okay that they had a really good win last night. I don't know if you can dial that up 2 nights in a row all that often.
On the road, you mean, or is it just?
Yeah, on the road. Yeah, that's tough. Sixers need the effort that they had the other night. Look, they're going to have to fight tooth and nail with this lineup that they have out there now. They're starting the – Did they start Ricky Council the other night, or did they start whoever they're going out there? And you want to see more from a Buddy Hield and from a Cameron Payne to see, like, what kind of players they are growing with this team. I told you before, I loved the other night that you had a mishmash of a starting five, and they shot 39 for 62. I love that. That tells me something that Nick Nurse has some kind of okay, look, here's how we're going to go. This is how we're going to go, and we're going to get good shots. And, we all watched every second of that game the other night. It wasn't that they hit crap shots. They did it, some of them, but most of them were open looks. And so it shows you that you have a coach that kind of has a system that no matter the players might be able to get you good shots.
I'm anxious to hear, as far as maybe now, too, some of the if you get any whispers tonight as far as the maybe more stuff. Who would be the people who potentially leak out something on whether we really can believe in Joel Embiid, that he could come back? Like, would they know more now today than maybe they knew a week ago about his recovery or not? Is this something with this surgery that it's going to take longer to see how he's really recovering? Yeah,
we had a joke back in the day when I was covering the team with all the injuries they had. It was like, all right, every 2 days we're going to ask you, any update? Any update on Joel Embiid's feet, Nerlens Noel's knee, Jahlil Okafor's knee, Ben Simmons' foot? So, you ask all the time, hey, where is Joel? Where is he now? Has he been in the gym at all? Has he been back here at all? And, you just try to make of it what you can.
Do you expect that it's that it's something we're going to get some information on fairly quickly or not? By the way, Sixers tonight, a 4-point favorite over on the BetParks app. I'm looking right now, 4-point on the BetParks app. That's suspicious to me.
Why?
Because I don't think the Sixers should be favored over the Heat right now without Joel Embiid. Yeah,
they're without Jimmy Butler still.
Yep.
Like I said, coming off of a tough win last night. That line is okay to me. As far as, do you think we'll what was it? Get updates?
Like you're going to hear anything about whether it's they have an idea of, okay, I think this thing's looking better. This is going to look better. It's not as dire as
we can only ask, right? And I'm sure tonight's answer will be, well, if we know anything, we'll know more after the All-Star break, because that'll give us another, over a week to evaluate and look and see. And I told you, I was told when I went down there after the surgery and talked to some people, it's not like something that he got operated on and he's bedridden.
Right.
He's up and around, and now up and around just means, he could be on crutches, whatever. But he's not just bedridden. So I don't know. That was my question to Maury and to guys down there, and they didn't know the answer about what is the time period of what is he doing from now to that 4 to 6 week period.
And I asked you earlier about the idea of, I'd be anxious to know whether maybe some of these guys could potentially already be back, like for the game tonight or whatever, and they're just saying, let's make sure they get extra rest at the All-Star break, and then after the All-Star break, they're coming back with a loaded gun.
Hopefully,
they're ready to go.
Yeah, hopefully the Anthony Melton, whatever the back situation is, and I want to ask some people about that tonight. Hopefully he's due to come back afterwards. Same thing with Batum. You want to get all these guys healthy and going, because you got to see what you really have, even though Joel Embiid's not there, to give you an idea of, should he come back, which way do you go with it?
All right, I just laid the points on the Bet Parks app. I just think the same thing. I was thinking of that this morning. I'm like, wow, Miami had to play at Milwaukee last night, then travel.
And they're teams going on the All-Star break.
They have one eye on the door.
You see some oddities. Let's just put it that way.
Now, is it more road teams with an eye on the door, or is it home teams with the eye on the door?
Well, road teams a lot of times are, guys might be going straight to their vacation destination. Here. Yeah. So a lot of times, they're planning that, whatever. I would assume the home team has an advantage because you're here. If you have family, you're ready to go. Your plans are set. So there's that. Sometimes on these last games before a break, you see some odd things. And it could be better play. It could be great play because guys are so excited to go on vacation. Like, it's like last day of school. Yeah, let's go have fun. They could do that.
They win this one now tonight, though. They're 2 games into the 6-game gauntlet. They'd be 2-0.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Like,
With guys maybe coming back after the All-Star break.
That would be pretty incredible. So, I mean, if they're able to pull something like that off, that would be a really, really nice one for the Sixers. You'll hear the game tonight, by the way, right here on 97.5, The Fanatic. The Pat was, as pitchers and catchers report, I know you were excited yesterday about
very pumped.
See the trucks unloading. Was that getting you?
Pops to the mitt.
Is that getting you excited?
Oh yeah, it makes it move.
I hear
totally.
Cooper Salchunas is very excited about his Hess truck. For you, it's the Phillies trucks. They get you very excited.
Yeah, if you can't hear the sarcasm in my voice, it's deep. I love baseball. You guys know. I'm a huge baseball fan, and I look forward to opening day. But for whatever reason, the trucks leaving and people getting pumped about the trucks spring training. Oh, pitchers and catchers, and I loathe so much the end of the
baseball.
I do, but the end of the Eagle season, you get the proverbial, oh, it's this many days till pitchers and catchers, and I'm like, we're still. Even when pitchers and catchers report, you're 6 weeks away from meaningful games. But I realize that I am poo-pooing on fun. All right. Now, I fully.
That's not on those tweets, Pat. You're not. Those tweets are the most trite, stupid things we ever get. Constantly.
Yeah.
Pitchers and catchers.
It's not something that I really look forward to. And I roll my eyes every time we have to get the news reports of trucks leaving with equipment. It's ridiculous. But is there something like that for you guys that you just. It makes you roll your eyes and you kind of dread? Or conversely, is there something like this that you look forward to? Like you look forward to pitchers and catchers. You look forward to trucks leaving. You look forward to whatever in sports where other people might be rolling their eyes going, seriously, you're getting excited over that?
You know mine. You guys make fun of me for it every year. What is my favorite day?
Schedule release.
Schedule release in the NFL.
I was going to say
narrow it down.
I can't stand it.
Screw you, Cooney. That is a good line, though. That is no, but I mean, I love the schedule release. I look forward so much to the NFL schedule release.
You're not the only one. Like I knew a buddy.
Love it.
I knew a buddy that said he looked more forward to the schedule release than the NFL draft.
I love schedule release
and free agency. It was like schedule release was one. the draft was 2 and free agency was 3. I'm like, how? Oh, whatever.
I love schedule release because it just feels like I can plan out my year, see when the big games are. There's just something about it.
I'll
Not
give you
the
one that I
loss
hate.
game,
Yeah, go ahead, Bobby.
I love the event. I can't stand that I start hearing about it months in advance.
What's that?
The Masters. The frickin' commercials start in January for a tournament that is played in April. I can't stand
that bothers you, really? The
Oh,
music,
my
you mean
God.
even hearing the music and everything? Ding, ding.
April 9th and
Ding,
10th.
ding.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like you love.
It's January 3rd.
That's-
like,
yeah.
stop it. I don't need to know about the Masters 4 months out. Like, stop.
That's so fun.
And the sacredness of it all. The Masters.
You know you're not
Like,
allowed to
come
call.
on, it's a
I'm
freaking
telling you,
sport.
we would broadcast every year down there, and you're not allowed to call them fans.
That's
You
so
must
stupid.
call them patrons.
stop me.
And Pat, if
So
you
dumb.
were on the air, and you called them anything other than patrons, your press credential was revoked, and you would not be broadcast.
Now I
it's
know how.
so
Now
stupid.
I know how to get out of ever having to be at the Masters. I'll just say
You
this.
love the Masters.
I don't like watching golf.
No, yeah, he's not.
I'm not a golf guy at all. I wish I was.
You wouldn't
'cause
want to
guys-
walk the hallowed
No,
grounds of
absolutely
Augusta
not.
National?
Could not care less. No.
Your
Yes, I know.
sweatpants,
Somebody help me.
would not be allowed.
I know this is sacrilege for a lot of people, but it's not something I'm into at all.
By the way,
but
if
I
you
feel
are-
like we all have one of these things.
By the way, if you are into it, I can help you get badges. So if you didn't win in the lottery, I know how you can get them. If you just email me, I'll try to help you out.
Badges.
You
We
got
don't need no stinking badges.
Very good there, Pat.
said that.
Hey, support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partners, H&H Heating and Air Conditioning. Love the Hoke brothers. Make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. You can do it today at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. Andrew Salchunas has a lot to live up to. It's going to be a big day, and people are expecting fun and romance today. It's Valentine's
From
Day.
Andrew?
I don't know. Then it's the best show ever at 2. Don't miss a minute of it. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6. Hopefully the Sixers with another.